And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
If you cannot speak and talk about the history of who they are, then they will not really carry your story. They will not understand their story. So today, the first thing I was the greatest revelation I was telling you a while back is that most people trying to reach, and I'm going to specifically talk today, and next week will be Spanish, the following week the Asian, etc. But I'm going to talk specifically today about the black culture. And I wanted to right now, I know, and how many would agree that I am not black? Can I get a witness, everybody? Amen. Praise God. Praise God. Pretty white to me. Can I get an amen up in here? Yeah. Praise God. Amen. So here's the deal. But what I want to share with you is I want to talk to you about is that, you know, we went across the country and we found out there's certain things that help reach that culture and reach it effectively. And there's certain things that don't make it happen. Okay. And today I would like to talk about those things that do reach the culture, specifically the men of the culture. And the first thing I found out is this. I found out that they do not know their history. That's one of the things that I know. And so you have to tell them their history. So today I'm going to attempt to do that.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Look on the outside edge of the pews. Look on the outside edge of the pews where you are. You see the different markings alongside the edge of the pews? They represent the different tribes that made up our congregation back then and spoke over 6 different languages among themselves. These were small tribes enslaved by larger tribes and sold to Europeans as they came along the African coast. One of the major languages they spoke back then was that of Aramaic and also too of Hebrew, which means the writings read from bottom to top. Assalamu alaikum. Which means, peace be unto you. It's not a Muslim term. It's actually the same greeting which Christ gave into the disciples when he met them in that region. Most countries in that region read from right to left. Here in America, we read from left to right. That's why the pastors in the St. God's window up front here are going in Numbers 2 through 7 from the right-hand side over to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left.
This is First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America. The building built by slaves. The gentleman that laid the first brick laid the last. The balcony hold pews that actually were built by slaves. They have the oldest information in this building. That information is written in cursive Hebrew writing.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism, you know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance is this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
There's only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics, with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the people known as the race black really are.
And by the way, we blood of Christ. We blood of Moses. Right. We're not just a color in a crayon box. And if we knew that, who we really were, we'd treat each other differently. We'd treat ourselves differently. So when you say, I'm black and I'm proud, like, but of what? What concept are we understanding? They say, go see the African History Museum. Why do they start when the boats came? Why don't they start with the drums?
When we was kings.
No, they don't want it, but we are kings. Mm-hmm. But the 400 years doesn't have to deal with slavery. It has to deal with the Bible. It has to deal with us being disobedient to God.
Right.
And that's why we farm land that isn't our own. Record labels, the NBA, Hollywood. These boys be scared. They be sitting there. Michael B. Jordan be telling my cousin, like, man, I want to do what Ye do, but I'm just, I'm right here. Or, like Kevin Hart be like, man, I like that. I'm envious of what Dave Chappelle could do. I talk about the left, the Democrats, and how they pray with BLM on our outrage. Even when I put up the DEFCON 3 tweet, I was outraged at this point.
What does DEFCON 3 mean?
It's like level of
actually when it's DEFCON,
it's like nuclear war shit.
I spelled it wrong. I have a tendency to do that. But DEFCON is actually that you're preparing to protect yourself.
Anti-Semitic statements are never good for anybody, right? It's kind of like being anti-black.
But it's really interesting. I didn't realize that I could be considered anti-Semitic till I read one of the definitions of anti-Semitism. Look at this. The definition says, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as a collective, such as, especially, but not exclusively. This sounds like let the go by. All right, so it says, think about it, that sounds like the type of wording that's in the contracts, right? Indeed. such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions.
But isn't that what you said? That Jews run everything?
Yeah, but that actually is considered to be anti-Semitic.
Right.
So I didn't realize that it was anti-Semitic to say, hey, you know, I have a Jewish attorney, I have a Jewish record label, I have a Jewish contractor, I have a
Do you regret your statements?
Or the statements you think you should be walking back? I mean, considering...
What do you mean walking back?
Well, you know, backing up off of them. I mean, the thing is, you've lost a lot of endorsements. People are dropping you. You're getting, you know, vilified. You know, I mean, you might think you're right, but I think, you know, there's a whole world out there that's condemning you for what you said.
Okay, so this right here is a chart of Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, ABC News, CBS News, Columbia Pictures, Warner Brothers, ESPN Sports, Fox News, Washington Post, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MTV Music Television, Nickelodeon, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Comedy Central, NBC Entertainment, Google, what else do we have? Disney, ABC Kids and Family, YouTube, Los Angeles Times, Discovery Network, Paramount Pictures, Facebook, Huffington Post, Yahoo, Marvel, Hulu, Cosmopolitan, Time, Touchstone, Associated Press, Pixar, Miramax, HBO, New York Post, LucasArts, MSNBC, DreamWorks Animation. Now, the thing is, I skipped over maybe about 5 of them because it was just unclear on this list. The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies.
Do you think they stuck together when they heard what you said? Was that what happened?
נחשף ביערות בורקינה פאסו שבט קניבלים נטו נטו. שלום למנהיג השבט קזבובו.
שלום עליכם. אברהם יצחק יעקב, יודע עברית, שולחן, חשבונית, קובי פרץ, מוטלזי מוטאו.
מר קזבובו, כולנו כאן בישראל מופתעים ונרגשים נוכח האפשרות שתעלו ארצה.
קזבובו שמח, 2000 שנות גלות נגמר, רואים אור בקצה של מנהרה.
אתם בטוחים שאתם יהודים?
התחלנו על חנן. אם הוא שחור הוא לא יהודי?
לא בגלל שהוא שחור, הוא...
מה הוא מה?
קניבל.
ומי אתה שתגיד לו מה לאכול, אה? אם הוא קניבל הוא לא יהודי?
אולי תבוא, תעשה אצלנו שבת?
זה לא שיש לי משהו אישי נגדכם, אבל הפלשמורה למשל תקועים...
להתחיל לאסוף את המסתננים, לא צריך לחכות לבג"ץ, לא צריך שום דבר.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית, אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
את עם פושי לנסוע! את נשואה עם פושי! לכי את והוא! תלכי מפה! תלכי! את נשואה עם פושי! לכי! לא מתפיישת!
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings, everyone. I want to say peace and blessings to all of you guys that are watching. Let me adjust my camera here. Let me adjust this here. Let me get in front of my camera here. Let me see here. All right. Again, I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Let me back this up a little bit. Wow. So much to unpack. And we're going to do as much as we can tonight. Just talk about a few things, answer some questions. Because I uploaded and, I played a couple of clips from the latest video with Kanye West, Kanye Ye. He goes by Ye now. And, you can really see how dejected he is, how broken he is, just even listening to some of the things that he had stated, some of the things that he stated. And, again, we know that Kanye or Ye said some things that got up under our skin, said some things about George Floyd and, that whole situation, how he approached it and what he believed based upon I guess, some documentary that Candace Owens had done. He made some statements about slavery, that I can tell you straight up, rubbed me the wrong way, right? Now, I was one of those as well, looking at some of the things that he's done in the past in terms of some of the demonic stuff that he was got into. We could go that route, even with the imagery of the satanic imagery, the images and symbols. So I can understand that many of us are very hesitant and believing that he completely changed, that he's not that same person, right? And for me, I'm not going to really get into all of that because when we look at the scriptures, right? Because many will pull up and say, hey, you know what he said in his music, that he sold his soul to the devil. He made a pledge. He made an agreement with the devil. But at the same time, many of you guys are part of a fraternity, part of a sorority, pledged, gave an oath to use your life as collateral. You work for the government. Guess what? You give your life, you're pledging your life as collateral. You become a doctor, right? You have to pledge, use your life as collateral. When you become a lawyer, you pledge your life as collateral. Police officer, you pledge, you give your life as collateral. Postal worker, you give your life as collateral. No matter how you look at it and slice and dice it, let's not be contradictory with our behavior when we're dealing with Kanye West. I do recall for many of the Bible thumpers that Apostle Paul persecuted his own people. And when you read the scriptures, he was there when Stephen was murdered, stoned to death. Paul persecuted his own people, sent out by the high priest, his own people. But for those that don't want to deal with the renewed covenant, some of you guys will refer to it as the New Testament. But if we want to go with King David took another man's wife and gave him a letter, which was really his death papers, to give to his commanding officers. And he was placed on the front lines to be killed. So David gave another man whom he slept around with his wife his death papers. Also, David was responsible for the death of 70,000 soldiers. 70,000, right? But we could take it a step further, right? because we want to talk about demonic worship, and we quick and we good at throwing those things out there. We good at bringing out what other people has done or have done. But what's in your closet? What's in your wallet? Nebuchadnezzar. You guys know some of you guys know the scriptures. Nebuchadnezzar. He went as far as enslaving Israelites, changed their names, and put his deities behind their names. He was all into what would be deemed today as to be satanic worship. But what happened in the end? He didn't die the way that he started. I mean, he even went as far as behaving like a wild man in the field for what, almost 7 years? And how did he die? Nebuchadnezzar. How did he die? Babylonians. What's the belief system of the Babylonians? See, family, we have to make sure that we're not being contradictory when it comes to how we treat people. Some of us got more love and more forgiveness for those that have oppressed this community, that have oppressed our forefathers, and that have oppressed our ancestors inside this country and outside this country. We give more love. We give more repentance, because many of the very ones that's, that have no forgiveness for Kanye West are the same ones that say, hey, we're supposed to love our enemies. Same ones that are celebrating the buck breaking of this billionaire. And that, when I say that, this is no disrespect to Kanye, but I want to talk to you guys a little bit. I want to talk to you guys for a little bit. Even after Kanye West stated that he made a typo, right, when it comes to DEFCON versus DEFCON. And look at what happened. Look at how it's received. Look how it's still being received. The very country that was built off of the scriptures, the Bible, the very group of people that holds dear to Torah, that deals with forgiveness, reconciliation, love, grace. And I'm not going to be one of those guys. I'm not going to be one of those guys, because we good at this. The next day, after the fact, prophets, I wish they had did that to me. You can say all what you want or how you would handle a situation until you under and in that situation. None of us can speak from his angle, because we don't have that type of resources to lose. Most of you don't have to sit up or be or speak in front of people to understand the pressure, to understand that you can slip up. So I'm going to play this clip one more time. And I want y'all to really listen to him and pay attention to his body language. Right? Because in this particular set of clips, he got asked a question about, do he have any regrets about making what is deemed to be anti-Semitic comments And I want y'all to really listen to what he said. Listen to what he said. I'm going to play the 3 clips again so you can pay attention to what he said. Because most people don't even understand what anti-Semitism is. He is going to share with you that he didn't know what anti-Semitism is when he stated a few things. And let's see what he said. Let's listen to what he said again.
Anti-Semitic statements are never good for anybody, right? It's kind of like being anti-black.
But, it's really interesting. I didn't realize that I could be considered anti-Semitic till I read one of the definitions of anti-Semitism. Look at this. The definition says, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as a collective, such as, especially, but not exclusively. This sounds like a, let it go by. What was that? All right, so it says, think about it, that sounds like the type of wording that's in the contracts, right?
Indeed.
Such as, especially, but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions.
But isn't that what you said? That Jews run everything?
Yeah, but that actually is considered to be anti-Semitic.
Right.
So I didn't realize that it was anti-Semitic to say, hey, I have a Jewish attorney, I have a Jewish record label, I have a Jewish contractor, I have a
Do you regret your statements?
Or the statements you think you should be walking back? I mean, considering...
What do you mean walking back?
Well, backing up off of them. I mean, the thing is, you've lost a lot of endorsements. People are dropping you. You're getting, vilified. I mean, you might think you're right, but I think, there's a whole world out there that's condemning you for what you said.
Okay, so this right here is a chart of Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, ABC News, CBS News, Columbia Pictures, Warner Brothers, ESPN Sports, Fox News, Washington Post, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MTV Music Television, Nickelodeon, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Comedy Central, NBC Entertainment, Google, what else do we have? Disney, ABC Kids and Family, YouTube, Los Angeles Times, Discovery Network, Paramount Pictures, Facebook, Huffington Post, Yahoo, Marvel, Hulu, Cosmopolitan, Time, Touchstone, Associated Press, Pixar, Miramax, HBO, New York Post, LucasArts, MSNBC, DreamWorks Animation. Now, the thing is, I skipped over maybe about 5 of them because it was just unclear on this list. The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies.
Do you think they stuck together when they heard what you said? Is that what happened?
All right. So before we go on, I want to give shout outs to Yehuda Sally. Want to say thank you for the contributions, and family. Let's show some love for Yehuda Sally. Thank you again. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for the donations, the contributions to this platform. And thank you. I really appreciate you speaking a blessing over me. Really appreciate you. Thank you. And family, let's show some love to Yehuda Sally. Let's show some love to him. All right. To our brother. All right. So listen to what he said. He got asked about anti-Semitism. Do he have any regrets? And he shared that he looked up the word, and according to the word, he did not know, by saying that the Jewish community, as we know them, said that he had no clue that saying that they own up everything or they run everything is considered to be anti-Semitic. He said he didn't know that. So he got asked again, do he have any regrets? But then right? He went on and gave a list of those that are running the big companies in Hollywood. We're not even getting into the banking system and all that other stuff, right? So before we go on, I want to say peace and blessings. Thank you, William Smithers. Really appreciate the love and support. Family, let's show William Smithers some love and support for his contributions tonight. Really appreciate you. Thank you again, my brother. Appreciate you. Right? So let me take you to, and this is from a presentation I did years ago. Because according to anti-Semitism, the definition that he read, if you say anything that's in regards to any conspiracy theories or that may allude to a conspiracy theory, you can be called an anti-Semitic. So this is what I'm going to do. And some of you guys remember this presentation, right? I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a source, right? I'm going to show you a news article of someone that stated what he stated. Let me pull it up here. Matter of fact, let me do it right now. And then we're going to address a few things because I definitely want to also talk about the Kyrie Irving, the Hebrews to Negroes. Matter of fact, let me pull that up real quick, right? The Hebrews to Negro tweet that he placed on his Twitter, and how he was labeled a anti-Semitic for posting this here. He just posted Ron Dalton, who written, produced Hebrews to Negroes, right? He posted the link on his Twitter, and he had to give an answer to being accused of being anti-Semitic because of him posting this movie that's on Amazon. Now, family, it's not easy to get a movie, a documentary on Amazon. It's not easy like many of you guys may think it is. It's not easy. You have to go through layers of approval to get something placed on a movie or media placed on Amazon. It's not easy. So Kyrie had to give an answer, and the first person that actually put a public statement out there about him outside of Rolling Stones and some of the other media outlets was the person that he works for. Can you imagine working for someone and the person that's supposed to protect you within that the confines of that company, literally, instead of giving you an opportunity to say something or respond, put something out there about you? So here it is, right? This is the tweet that he put out there. Let me stretch it out here so you guys can see. I was surprised when this came across my desk because I was up late, right? And I saw this come across my desk. I was like, what? Wait a minute. Wow. A movie that's on Amazon, approved to be on Amazon, been on it for a few years. See, y'all got to pay attention to this here, family. And we're going to deal with a few things tonight, family. We're going to deal with a few things tonight. And I want to start off with the scripture, this passage here, Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 19. O Yahweh, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles, in other words, all these nations that are not blood descendants of Israel, shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. In other words, there's a lot of lies, a lot of things that was handed down. And what they're saying in this passage is that they're innocent bystanders. They had no clue about some of the lies and the things that are going on, the things that their fathers were through traditions handed down, similar to what we just heard here with this 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 Ashkenazi guy right here that was giving his testimony about his heritage that I played earlier. This clip here.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism.
All right, so let me say fair use, number one. And what's unfortunate is because if you even use certain words, you get flagged. You get flagged. Like the word anti-Semitism says, attaching using the word conspiracy or any conspiracy theories towards the Jewish community as we know them. So we have a lot to unpack here, family, tonight. We got a lot to unpack. I got other clips I could show you. I got tons of clips. Just like what you heard. I just don't upload them. It's so many to upload, right? So let's first answer. Yes, this is a big PowerPoint. I narrowed it down some. Let's go to this here. We'll deal with that word Semitic again. I know we deal with it a lot, but I want to deal with the media, right? Let's deal with this here. You guys saw this before. Does the Jewish community run or control Hollywood? That is the question that was raised in this particular article by Joel, some would say Joel, Stein. So just the name alone should give you an idea of the heritage of the person, this journalist rather, who wrote this article. This is December 19, 2008. LA Times, Who Runs Hollywood? Come on, that's the name of the article. And I'm going to place this link inside the comment section so that way you guys, again, you can review this link here so that way you can get clarity. You can show this as well, because if that's the case, that is stating that according to the definition of anti-Semitic, that this person that wrote this article, which is a very respectable journalist rather, and that genre. So let me post this here inside so that way you guys can scoop up these links, right? It's in the comment section. So let's see what it says here. Who runs Hollywood? Come on. This is the LA Times. Let me say this again, because I know that there's trolls that are watching, right? I know that there are those that are watching right now, hoping and praying that I say something that they can report me, right? But I'm going to use sources from within the Jewish community. So let's hear someone that's from the Jewish community. Let's hear what this journalist says about who runs Hollywood. Who runs Hollywood? Come on. I have never been so upset by a poll in my life. Only 22% of Americans now believe the movie and television industries are pretty much run by Jews, down from nearly 50% in 1964. The Anti Defamation League, which released the poll results last month, sees in these numbers a victory against stereotyping. Actually, it just shows how dumb America has gotten. Jews totally run Hollywood. I'm going to read it one more time. I'm going to read that last sentence again. I want y'all to really, pay attention to this, right? Let it resonate, right? This is not me. I didn't write this article. This is someone from the Jewish community. The Jewish community, as we know them, it's someone from that community, right? So let's read it one more time. Actually, it just shows how dumb America has gotten. Jews totally run Hollywood.
What?
How deeply Jewish is Hollywood? That's the question he asks. Now, he's saying that the numbers are down, right? And that he's concerned. He's like, wait a minute, the numbers are down only 22% at this time, right? He says, I've never been so upset by a poll in my life. Only 22% of Americans now believe the movie and television industry are pretty much run by Jews, down from nearly 50% in 1964. The Anti-Defamation League, which released the poll results last month, sees in these numbers a victory against stereotyping. Actually, it just shows how dumb America has gotten. Jews totally run Hollywood. How deeply Jewish is Hollywood? When the studio chiefs took out a full-page ad in the Los Angeles Times a few weeks ago to demand that the Screen Actors Guild settle its contract. The open letter was signed by, notice the names here, right? News Corp, President Peter Chernin, Jewish. Paramount Pictures, Chairman Brad Gray, Jewish. Walt Disney Company, right? Chief Executive Robert Iger, Jewish. Sony Pictures, Chairman Michael Linton, Surprise Dutch, Jewish. Warner Brothers, Chairman Barry Mayer, Jewish. CBS Corp, Chief Executive Leslie Moonves, so Jewish, his great uncle was the first prime minister of Israel. MGM, Chairman Harry Sloan, Jewish. NBC Universal Chief Executive Jeff Zucker, mega Jewish. If either of the, let me see, I didn't put it all there. Sorry, family, I didn't put it all there. But you have the article for that, the continuation of that paragraph. But he went on to say this here. The Jews are so dominant, I had to scour the trades to come up with 6 Gentiles in high positions at entertainment companies. When I called them to talk about their incredible advancement, 5 of them refused to talk to me, apparently out of fear of insulting Jews. The 6th, AMC president Charlie Collier, turned out to be Jewish, right? Goes on to say, as a proud Jew, I want America to know about our accomplishments. See, he's not writing this article as an insult, but he's writing it from a perspective of being proud how his community, right, were able to have so much influence in the culture of the entertainment industry. Now, all those names I just read off sounds just like, but it's a smaller list of what Kanye West or Ye quoted. Now listen to what Ye quoted in conjunction to what I just read to you.
Okay, so this right here is a chart of Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, ABC News, CBS News, Columbia Pictures, Warner Brothers, ESPN Sports, Fox News, Washington Post, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MTV Music Television, Nickelodeon, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Comedy Central, NBC Entertainment, Google, what else do we have? Disney, ABC Kids and Family, YouTube, Los Angeles Times, Discovery Network, Paramount Pictures, Facebook, Huffington Post, Yahoo, Marvel, Hulu, Cosmopolitan, Time, Touchstone, Associated Press, Pixar, Miramax, HBO, New York Post, LucasArts, MSNBC, DreamWorks Animation. Now, the thing is, I skipped over maybe about 5 of them because it was just unclear on this list. The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies.
Do you think they stuck together when they heard what you said? Was that what happened?
Okay, so Kanye, what he did, which was very smart this go round, he gave a source, right? It wasn't just him saying something, but he gave sources. See, family, that's the key. If you're going to make a statement, right, give the source of where you're pulling it from. Whether it's considered a good source or a bad source, at least it will show that you have no ill intentions. You pull from the source, right? You vetted the source, but you did not know the source was a certain way. But he quoted a source, but I'm giving you an actual article by someone from the Jewish community as we know them, giving an accountability, stating exactly what Kanye West has said and others had said. But guess what? If this person says it, which is okay, he's cool. But if it's someone outside of that community says something, then it's anti-Semitism. See, family, we could go right down the list on a number of things that has happened to our people. Is this anti-Semitism, right? According to how it's defined, when I pull up this source right here, let me pull up this source right here, right? Jews and Judaism in the United States, a documentary history, Rabbi Mark Lee Raphael, 1983, right? This is coming from his source. Notice what it says, right? Let me go back here. Rabbi Mark Lee Raphael. Notice what he says in this book. And some of you guys know this book and seen this book, but I just want to reiterate this point because it's interesting how history, our history, gets trampled on. And a lot of it is because of us, because we don't understand and know our own history. And as this link here, I know it makes some of you guys mad when I play this clip here. Let me play this clip because I purposely play this clip to make some of you guys upset, because this is how a lot of people think when it comes to our community. This is what they think. This is what they say. Let me let you hear again this clip I played earlier by this particular rabbi. Let's see what he says.
If you cannot speak and talk about the history of who they are, then they will not really carry your story. They will not understand their story. So today, the first thing I was the greatest revelation I was telling you a while back is that most people trying to reach, and I'm going to specifically talk today, and next week will be Spanish, the following week the Asian, etc. But I'm going to talk specifically today about the black culture. And I wanted to right now, I know, and how many would agree that I am not black? Can I get a witness, everybody? Amen. Praise God. Praise God. Pretty white to me. Can I get an amen up in here? Yeah. Praise God. Amen. So here's the deal. But what I want to share with you is I want to talk to you about is that, you know, we went across the country and we found out there's certain things that help reach that culture and reach it effectively. And there's certain things that don't make it happen, okay? And today I would like to talk about those things that do reach the culture, specifically the men of the culture. And the first thing I found out is this. I found out that they do not know their history. That's one of the things that I know. And so you have to tell them their history. So today I'm going to attempt to do that.
Family, he made it clear that we don't know our history. And unfortunately, there are so many of us that don't know our history. We know religion. We can practice religion. We good at doing religion. But what is your history? Who are you? Outside of just saying that you are a Christian or you are a Muslim, whatever religion that you are part of, who are you? What is your heritage? What is your ethnicity? Who have you descended from? What tribe are you from? You know, there's more to us than just being labeled black people.
And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese. China. Russian. Russia. Italian. Italy. German. Germany. Swedish. Sweden. Korean. Korea. Egyptian. Egypt. Nigerian. Nigeria. Black.
Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
Come on, family. Did you see the confusion? That is just a sample size of just how confused we are, because we will protect and fight for the construct that was created by the institution of race, which was created by a Germanic anthropologist, I believe it was an anthropologist, Johann Blumenbach. We will hold and fight for the color black. But who are we? You saw the confusion inside that crowd, that icebreaker. Now, I want to give you a source here. Now, I want to make this clear because, unfortunately, the way things are going, you cannot talk about history without it being or you being accused of attacking a particular group of people. You can't talk about history now without being told that you are anti this or anti that. We should be able to talk about religion without it coming across as if we're trying to insult or humiliate individuals. So I want to make this clear. I am not dealing with individuals. I'm dealing with sources here. I'm dealing with history. I'm dealing with institutions. This is not directed at any particular person. This is dealing with the institutions. So I want y'all to pay attention. This is Mark Lee Raphael, right? Rabbi, Jews and Judaism in the United States, a documented history. He says in his book, Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. Indeed, the bylaws of the recipe in the Mauritius congregations, 1648, included an imposta, in other words, a Jewish tax of 5 soldos for each Negro slave a Brazilian Jew purchased from the West Indies Company. So this is telling you that the Jewish community owned us, sold us. As you see here, the Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. And yet we have to fight tooth and nail just to get any kind of reparations. Over 100 million of our ancestors that was kidnapped, that was raped, that was brutalized, that was, now we get into the word rapture, because that's what the word rapture means for those that are watching this for the very first time. So we have to now deal with that. We still dealing with all kinds of injustices. Anyone can come into our community and do whatever they want to do. Remember the situation that happened in Milwaukee? The brother man, Jacob Blake or whatever, that was shot, and how I forgot the young white kid. I think he's not a kid now. He's like 20 years old. 19? No, he's 19, I believe. 18 or 19. How he was in, along with other groups that was part of different militias, to go into our community over there to facilitate us, to watch over us, to watch our community, to police our community. We're the only people in this country that have to be fearful. We have to give our children, right, that the not the normal things, like most other cultures, when their children is getting a driver's license, all they have to do is just read the DMV manual, study it, take the test, they cool. But we have to take it a step further. We have to modify, add addendums to the DMV book that they have to study to get their license. We have to add to it by stating, hey, if you get pulled over, this is how you behave. This is how you act. If you get pulled over, make sure you give an account for every movement. Ask the police officer who pulls you over for how to move. That, hey, officer, is it okay for me to move my hand over to the glove compartment because my insurance card, my insurance information is inside the card? Is it okay, officer? We're the only group of people that has to deal with that. We're the only group of people that they even had to make a law to say it's okay for us to wear our hair natural, because naturally our hair locks. We're the only group of people that they had to pass a law stating that it's okay for us to wear our hair natural. We're the only group of people. Y'all, come on, the Black Caucus, when, with the whole situation with George Floyd, and they're the Black Caucus, they're grandstanding. Oh, we're going to make sure that we're going to put a law in place that another Black person, another Negro, another African American will never have to worry about a knee being applied to their neck ever again. But guess what? Many of our brothers and sisters are still being killed innocently, murdered by law enforcement. Come on, family. This is dealing with reality. As you see here, Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. Indeed, the bylaws of the Recife in the Mauritius congregations included an aposta, in other words, a Jewish tax of 5 soldos for each Negro slave a Brazilian Jew purchased from the West Indies Company. Slave auctions were postponed if they fell on a Jewish holiday. In Carico, forgive me if I butcher the name, in the 17th century, as well as in the British colonies of Barbados and Jamaica. Now, if you understand Jamaica and Barbados, you understand some of the worst plantations to work on was the sugarcane plantation, because of the machines that they had to operate. You had slaves that was operating these machines, and they were treated like parts, machine parts. Someone arm get ripped off, they just toss that slave aside and put another slave in their place. That you had, and it's documented that you had slaves, if on moving day, right, which would be the day after New Year's, January 2nd, right, when they find out that they have been sold to a certain owner or a plantation, or they were begging and pleading not to go to a sugarcane plantation. We got to be real about this. See, I'm one of those that believe that whether it's good history or bad history, actually, I don't even believe in good history or bad history. It's just history. Because when you place good over it, then you are using you superimposing your opinions over history. When you say it's bad, you still superimposing your beliefs over history. History is just history, whether you like it or whether you don't. It's history. It can be a tough pill to swallow, especially when we're on the receiving end or a lot of these atrocities and still being on the receiving end. That just because we start understanding who we are, now we got to have all kinds of certificates, and not just certificates. We gotta go right down the whole list to say, hey, this is who I am. I'm not this. I'm not this. We got to give a disclaimer. Even talking about Kanye West, we're the only group of people that have to give a disclaimer. Well, let me make you clear. You know what? I don't support Kanye. I want to make this clear. I don't agree with what he said this. I don't agree with him saying that. I don't agree with him saying this. I don't agree with him saying that. So now let's get into the conversation. Why do we have to, or feel like we have to give a disclaimer talking about what's happening right now? We're the only group of people that have to give a disclaimer. But notice what this source says. In fact, in all the American colonies, whether French, British, or Dutch, the Jewish merchants frequently dominated. Let me read it again. In fact, in all the American colonies, whether French, British, or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. This was no less true on the North American mainland, where during the 18th century, Jews participated in the triangular trade that brought slaves from Africa to West Indies and there exchanged them for molasses, which in turn was taken to New England and converted into rum for sale in Africa. Isaac de Costa of Charleston in the 1750s, we're dealing with Charleston, South Carolina, David Franks of Philadelphia in the 1760s, Aaron Lopez of Newport in the late 1760s and early 1770s dominated Jewish slave trading on the American continent. In these European outposts, the Jews, with their years of mercantile experience and network of friends and family providing market reports of great use, played a significant role in the merchant capitalism, commercial revolution, and territorial expansion that developed in the New World and established the colonial economies. The Jewish Caribbean nexus provided Jews with the opportunity to claim a disproportionate influence in the 17th and the 18th century New World commerce and enabled West Indian Jewry far outnumbering its co-religionists. Further north, to enjoy a centrality which North American Jewry would not achieve for a long time to come, groups of Jews began to arrive in Suriname in the middle of the 17th century after the Portuguese regained control of northern Brazil. By 1694, 27 years after the British had surrendered Suriname to the Dutch, there were about 100 Jewish families. Let me say that again. There were about 100 Jewish families, not 100 individuals, 100 Jewish families and 50 single Jews there, or about 570 persons. They possess more than 40 estates. Wait a minute. They possess in this area more than 40 estates, and 9,000 slaves contributed 24,905 pounds of sugar as a gift for the building of a hospital, and carried on an active trade with Newport and other colonial ports. By 1730, Jews owned 115 plantations and were a large part of a sugar export business, which sent out 21,680,000 pounds of sugar to European and New World markets in 17 1730 alone. Just in 1730 alone, 21,680,000 pounds of sugar just in 1 year alone. And as I stated, the sugarcane plantations were the worst plantations to work on, to be enslaved on, just as I pointed out. Did y'all know Domino sugar? Right? Domino sugar. Oh, there's some things we could talk about. Domino sugar owning slaves. Go figure. That yellow bag of sugar, remember that yellow and white bag of sugar? They owned slaves. And so many of our slaves, our ancestors lost their lives, died. Oh, but anyway, slave trading was a major feature of Jewish economic life in Suriname, which as a major stopping off point in the triangular trade. Both North American and Caribbean Jews played a key role in this commerce. Records of a slave sale in 1707 revealed that the 10 largest Jewish purchasers, right, spent more than 25% of the total funds exchanged. So, family, right? I just share with you a source. Is that conspiracy? Is that anti-Semitism based off the definition that is presented? Is that anti-Semitism? See, this is the thing that's happening right now. We are in a position now that is getting to a point that you can't even blink about even speaking up on a situation or mentioning a group of people, right, without being flagged. That's where it's getting at. That's where it's getting at. Anything but the Negroes. Let me say that again. Anything but the Negroes. So this is dealing with the slave trade. Now, family, you guys know that I teach this over and over again, that no, it wasn't just the Jewish community, Judaism. It wasn't just that enslaved our people. Guess what? It was the Roman Catholic Church. It was Christianity. But yet no one wanted to talk about that. Matter of fact, let me pull that up here real quick. Let me make sure we address that as well. Let me see here. Right, we got a lot we're gonna address, and I'm gonna drop the link inside the comment section here for. I think I see my sister Shonda, if you're available. I think I saw Benay and some of the other crew. I think I saw some of you guys there. I'm going to drop that in a second, but let me pull up another thing here. Let me pull up something else. All right, this is the message that I taught for almost 4 years, over 3 years. The same message, year after year after year. The Most High had me just teach the same message. Is this the one I'm looking for? No, this is not the one I'm looking for. Let me do this again. I just want to show something here. All right. I think this is it right here. All right. I'm going to pull up this slide here. I'm going to pull up this slide. We're going to deal with a little bit of Christianity as well. This is a source I quote a lot for those that are watching for the first time. This is a source I quote a lot. All right. And just to make it clear, right, I want to make sure that you guys understand that, hey, it was more to the transatlantic slave trade as how it's been labeled. It wasn't a slave trade, family. It was a world war, especially if you understand the definition of world war. Let me bring up this source here. All right. Let me stop this. Let me present this here. Because I want to make sure you guys understand this with Christianity, because this is not, this is dealing with our history that many are scared to talk about because of censorship. Right? Let me bring this up here. Here it is. Right? System to destroy our hope. That's the name of this presentation that I taught for years. Act of hostility. So let's go to this portion of this slide. Let me see here. Let's deal with a key point in history. Let's deal with slavery and the Catholic Church real quick. Let's stretch this out here because we still got more to cover. We're going to deal with the word Semitic, right? We're going to give an understanding of the word Semitic for those that are watching for the first time, because that's the discussion that we're not hearing. Let's define the word Semitic. Let's see what it means. But we're not seeing that part of the discussion. We just see the propaganda machine at full steam. But let's go to this source here, and we'll get back to Kanye, right? Slavery and the Catholic Church, 1975, page 52 and 53. I'm going to drop this link inside the comment section, not the link, but this source inside the comment section for those that are want to look up this book. I encourage you guys, look up this book. It's a lot of information inside this book, right? A lot of some great information here. And then the other thing we're going to cover anti-Semitism, and we're going to deal a little bit with heritage, right? But this is the book right here. You can download this book for free, I believe. All right. So let's deal with the church. Notice what it says here. Papal grants to the kings of Portugal, giving authority to enslave the Saracens and other non-Christian Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is at war. Notice what it says. It says Christendom, right? We see the word Catholic, Christendom, 1442. This is before the Reformation movement, the Protestant movement. You know, this is before Luther and all those guys. John Calvin, this is before those guys. So papal grants to the king of Portugal, giving authority to enslave the Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is at war. Wait a minute, there's a war going on? Absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't just a slave trade, it was a world war. And all these major groups used us, enslaved us, right? And our ancestors were technically prisoners of war. We are sons and daughters of prisoners of war. How come we don't hear this history? How come we don't hear about this history in these religious groups? How come we don't talk about the tens of millions, tens and tens and tens of millions of our people that were murdered, that was kidnapped, that was raptured? How come we don't talk about what's his name, Leopard, or whatever his name is, the guy that conquered Nigeria, killed over 10 million Nigerians, just him alone? How come we don't talk about that? Because when we hear about or talk about our atrocities, we get told we got over it. Why can't you? That wasn't our people that did it to us. We can't stand in proxy for our forefathers, but yet, all these communities, all these countries, all these cultures, man, they got such a head start off of free labor. Actually, not free labor, because they kidnapped us. They did all these things to our people. They got rich off of our ancestors being prisoners of war. But yet, we got to sit here and be told that what does that have to do with me? See, the institution of race perpetuates the things that we're going through. That's what we see right now. It's the institution of race. So I'm going to put a couple of questions out here, right? And I'm going to drop the link. And if there's anyone that's from the Jewish community, as we know it, want to jump on and you want to give clarity, I don't have a problem with dropping a link, and we can have a discussion on some of the questions that you should be able to answer. Give answers to history. These answers. Why can't we have healthy dialogue? Why does it have to be that we have to be demonized when we start coming to an understanding of piecing the parts together or the puzzle together of who we are? Why does it have to go to that? Why does it have to be taken to the extreme? Listening to Kanye West earlier in his interview, he said, man, I just pray that somebody have a buddy system around him, because it sounds like, man, he may not last to the end of the year. You have these different groups, organizations saying that anti-Semitism is at an all-time high because of Kanye West, at an all-time high that has ever been. But I'm trying to I'm trying to make sense of that, because according to the history as they are telling us, according to the Jewish Museum, right, they tell us that there were 6 million Jews that was killed by a man named Hitler. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm not being insensitive to anyone who lost relatives because of a heinous act by this person, Hitler. I'm making that clear. I'm not being insensitive or disregarding that history. But I want to make this point. I'm saying this to make this point. How can someone that made it clear that they made an error, they was out of order when they made the comment about DEF CON versus DEF CON? How can they be comparable to Hitler or worse than Hitler? How? I'm just trying to make sense of that. Whether we agree or disagree, right? And most of us agree that he should have thought better. He could have used a better choice of words. But at the same time, did he threaten to do what Hitler did? So, family, this is what we're being told. I believe it's I can't remember the group now off the top of my head, that has said that anti-Semitism is at an all-time record high, like never before. But then 6 million Jews, 6 million Jewish people, the Holocaust. So Kanye West is worse than the Holocaust, the atrocities of the Holocaust. Arsenio Hall used to say, something to make you go home. Let's get back to this. So notice here, in 1442, a Portuguese captain brought to the Gold Coast some Moorish prisoners of war, exchanged them for 10 Negro slaves. So notice they make a distinction between Moors, a distinction between Negroes, right? 10 Negro slaves, prisoners of war, because there's a war going on. So more Portuguese had some of the Moorish soldiers, prisoners, right? So they exchanged them for 10 Negro slaves, but it didn't stop there, and brought these back to Lisbon. A trading settlement was established at Lagos by 1444. It would appear that by 1452, the Portuguese were anxious to establish their property rights over their newly discovered West African territory. So Pope Nicholas V, Santa Claus, Pope Nicholas V, that's Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, because this Pope is a saint. Pope Nicholas V was approached and was apparently led to believe that these territories of the Guinea coast were inhabited by Saracens and other enemies of Christendom. There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. Let me say that again. Come on, family. But yet we've been dumbed down to view the atrocities that happened to our people as being a slave trade. But here, the Pope, the Papa, he put in place, he implemented, as you see here, the well-known contemporary rules of war to the situation in West Africa. Come on, those slave ports in West Africa, the Gold Coast. It was a world war. Multiple nations contributed to this, all in the name of religion. All in the name of religion. It says here, right? There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war to the situation in West Africa, whereas the Portuguese were well aware the local Negro inhabitants were not Saracens, were not Muslims, were not the enemies of Christendom. So it said that they were not Saracens, they were not Muslims. Our ancestors, were not enemies of Christianity. We're not enemies of Catholicism. We're not enemies of Judaism. We're not enemies of Hinduism. We're not enemies of any of these people or belief systems. So who were the Saracens? Since it said they were not Saracens in the Middle East, or excuse me, in the Middle Ages, any person, Arab, Turk, or others who profess the religion of Islam. So this tells you that our ancestors were not Arabs, they were not Turks, right? These targeted people were not practicing Islam. That's what it says here, right? The Saracens are Arabs and Turks. But notice what it goes on here to say here about this world war that took place, right? To further confirm what happened, it says the treatment of Black Gentiles was addressed in 1452 and 1455 when Pope Nicholas V issued a series of papal bulls that granted Portugal the right to enslave sub-Saharan Africans. Church leaders argued that slavery served as a natural deterrent of Christianizing influence to barbarous behavior among pagans. Using the logic, the Pope issued a mandate, right? A mandate. Doesn't that sound familiar? Issued a mandate to the Portuguese King Alfonso V and instructed him what? What did he tell him to do? Notice what he says here: to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, right? This is dealing with rapture, right? That's what the word rapture means. It means to rape, it means to kidnap, it means to abduct. That's what rapture means. Google it, do the etymology of the word. And subdue all Saracens and pagans whatsoever, and to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery, and to apply and appropriate to himself and his successors the kingdoms, dukedoms, counties, principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods, and to convert them to his and their use and profit. All right. So we see that here. This is what our ancestors were subjected to. The Middle Passage, come on, family. For weeks, months, sometimes as long as a year, they waited in the dungeons of the slave factories scattered along Africa's western coast. They had already made the long, difficult journey from Africa's interior, but just barely. Out of roughly 20 million who were taken from their homes and sold into slavery, half didn't complete the journey to the African coast. Most of those dying along the way. They said most of the people died just to get to the coast, and the worst was yet to come. It says the worst is yet to come, family. I'm not gonna go over this word cone here, baraka. That's why I don't subscribe to using this word. I'm not gonna get into that real quick. Let's see what else it says here. The captives were about to embark on the infamous Middle Passage, so called because it was the middle leg of a three-part voyage, a voyage that began and ended in Europe, right? So let's see what else it says here. Not going to go into that part. The slaves were branded with hot irons and restrained with shackles. Come on. Our people, and it's noted in history, no other group of people went through the atrocities that we went through. No other people had to deal with what we had to be dealt with. No other group of people were treated worse than animals. That's why you get the word cattle slavery, which is actually, many would use the word chattel. They're synonymous to one another because we were treated like animals. No other group of people went through that level of humiliation, and we can say perversions, because it was all kinds of things that was happening. And to this day, every institution in this country and other countries have benefited from this world war, from the educational system, from these colleges, starting with Princeton and the Ivy League schools. They all had slaves. Georgetown had slaves, family, because at that time, it was all about teaching them how to manage their product. We were product. Product could not go to school and learn how to manage itself. Product couldn't purchase homes and manage itself. Product couldn't purchase property. Product couldn't even have a patent because product couldn't do these things. But we don't want to talk about that history. That's the history that we're told over and over again. You know what? Just put it aside. Just put it aside. Why you guys got to keep bringing it up? The fleur-de-lis, that's the fleur-de-lis family, the New Orleans Saints. All right. So I just want to touch on a little bit with the Christianity, because I know I've been going in. I touched on Christianity, but let me go ahead and let's get back to what we were dealing with the discussion here. Let's bring back up the other presentation here. Let's get back to dealing with some of the other questions we need to answer here. All right. Let's bring it up right now. It's unfortunate that everyone can talk about their history, but we can't talk about our history. We can't talk about our history. We have to talk in code when it comes to our history. We have to talk in code against or when we're dealing with all the parties that was involved with the things that our ancestors had to go through. We have to talk in codes. It's sad that we have to talk in codes, right? Let me deal with this here. Since I mentioned Georgetown, for those that don't know this, let me just mention Georgetown. It wasn't just Georgetown. All the major universities had slaves to build up that campus, right? Notice here, the Georgetown Slavery Archive is a repository of materials relating to the Maryland Jesuits, Georgetown University, and slavery. The project was initiated by the Archives subgroup of the Georgetown University Working Group on Slavery, Memory, and Reconciliation. Notice what it says here. Articles of agreement between Thomas F. Moodley of Georgetown District of Columbia. This is what it says. 19th June, 1838, articles of agreement between Thomas F. Moodley of Georgetown District of Columbia of one part, and Jesse Beatty and Henry Johnson of the state of Louisiana. Of the other part, Thomas F. Moodley sells to Jesse Beatty and Henry Johnson 272 Negroes, to wit, right? And I'm going to go back to that other slide real quick because, there's a lot of things that are circulating to where as though, you're hearing this label, the Black Hebrew Israelites, a lot of things that are being put out there to make it so that way anyone of color that says that they are Israel, right, are now a hate group. Anything but the Negroes. Anything but the Negroes. We're a hate group. If any one of you guys pull up your DNA and you see that you have Igbo, you have Limba, you have Ethiopian Jews, you have all these different people, these different groups that have been proven to be Israelites connected to the ancient Israelites, you are a cult. You are the Black Hebrew Israelites, which is an oxymoron that in itself. We're the only group of people. You have Asians honoring the law of return. You have all these different groups honoring the law of return. And we're going to touch on that shortly. Oh, come on. We got to just talk about this history. Masters must answer the Moberly's diaries. Notice what this says here, family. Some years ago, blacks were more easily kept in due subordination and were more patient under the rod of correction than they are now, because then discipline flourished, but now it is going to decay. The present white generation seem to lose sight of the old observation. The better a Negro is treated, the worse he becomes. It may be struck out, said, that the experimental truth of the above observation gave rise to the following lines. tender-handed brush a nettle, right? So what is the subject? Right? Slave abuse, right? That's the subject, slave abuse. Masters must answer for their slaves. On page 142 of this source, for exposing the lives of their slaves by not providing them with bed, comfortable housing, permitting whole families of children without regards to sex to sleep in the same bed, by which means they become corrupt in their tender years. They were making grown men sleep with little babies, little kids, promoting pedophilia and all this other. Oh man, not providing them the necessity, or should I say the necessary food and raiment. Because when you look at the Negro codes, the master, the slave owners had to buy an outfit for the slaves once a year, clothing, to a change of clothing, put it that way, because I'm not going to say an outlet like they going to the mall. No, something to wear. They had to provide garments, something for them to wear once a year, a pair of shoes once a year. That's in the Barbados slave code. But anyway, we're going to cover that another time, right? So we dealt with the education, right? And I want to touch on another thing here, right? Let's get to anti-Semitic, right? Let's go to what the Britannica encyclopedia say about anti-Semitism. Hostility towards or discrimination against Jews as a religious or racial group. The term anti-Semitism was coined in 1879 by the German agitator Wilhelm Marr to designate the anti-Jewish campaigns underway in Central Europe at that time. Although the term now has a wide currency, it is a misnomer, since it implies a discrimination against all Semites. Arabs and other peoples are also Semites, and yet they are not the target of anti-Semitism as it is usually understood. The term is especially inappropriate as a label for the anti-Jewish prejudices, statement, or actions of Arabs or other Semites. Nazi anti-Semitism, which culminated in the Holocaust, had a racist dimension in that it targeted Jews because of their supposed biological characteristics. Now, these are some key words here. Had a racist dimension and that it targeted Jews because of their supposed biological characteristics, even those who had themselves converted to a religion or whose parents were converts. So it's saying here, according to this, the Britannica Encyclopedia, it's saying that converts, those that are not blood descendants of the ancient people who converted by way of religion, right, or whose parents were converts, who are not blood descendants to the ancient Israelites, but converted by conversion, can still fall up under anti-Semitism. Far as use the label of anti-Semitism, they can still be considered Semitic. That's what this source is saying. I'm not making this up. I'm giving you a source here. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue on. We're going to continue on with these sources. It says targeted Jews because of their supposed biological characteristics. The word supposed, let's just see what supposed mean real quick. Supposedly, it says according to what someone told you, according to what is believed by many people to be true. Let me say that again, supposed or supposedly, according to what someone told you or according to what is believed by many people to be true. Yeah, the Middle East, right? Look at here. This is New York Times. The Middle East. I'm gonna bring some other New York Times articles up so we could get clarity here. Until this century, nobody talked about the Middle East because neither the term nor the states and the region existed. Both were the work of the victors in World War I. Wait a minute. So the Middle East, that's not an old term? The true begetters of the furies that still rage. The term Middle East was coined in 1901 by Admiral Alfred Thayer Mahon, the celebrated American advocate of naval power. It was popularized in speeches in 1916 by Sir Mark Sykes, a British member of Parliament. Wait a minute. So we see, right? We see getting clarity on what anti-Semitism is. We getting clarity on the Middle East. Let me go to another item here that we want to cover here. Let's deal with the word Semitic, right? Let's deal with the word Semitic. Matter of fact, let's deal with Josephus real quick, right? For those that carry the title or been labeled African Americans, because guess what, family? Just because you have melanin in your skin, just because you dark and classified as being black under the institution of race, guess what, family? You're not the only one that can use the title of African American. A Caucasian. There are Caucasians that refer to themselves as African American legally because they're from Africa and they are Americans here. So that label African American doesn't tell you anything except that you, far as us, our origin is in the continent of Africa. So with that being said, let's see what Josephus had to say here. I'm just going to start at here. Malchus, who wrote a history of the Jews in agreement with the history of Moses, the legislators, relates that there were many sons born to Abraham by Keturah. Nay, he names three of them: Aphir, Surim, and Japhran. That from Surim was the land of Assyria denoted, and that from the other two, Aphir and Jabran, the country of Africa, took its name. So according to Josephus, who is an Israelite, right, who is an ancient Hebrew Israelite, gave an account stating that the word Africa, the name of Africa, is the origins of it, Afar, comes from Abraham. It is a Shemitic or Semitic. It's a Shemitic term. So when we deal with the table of nation in Genesis chapter 10, when you understand the table of nation, family, every descendant that comes out of the loins of Shem, they are Shemitic or Semitic, according to the definition. Anyone that came out of the loins of Eber, they are Hebrew, right? That includes Ishmael. That includes Moab, Lot. That includes all of them. Now, when we go down to the loins of Abraham, his seed, the promised seed, now we get into Isaac. Isaac, right? He's a Hebrew, but he had two sons, twins, Esau and Jacob. Esau was a Hebrew. Jacob was a Hebrew, but both of them are not the fathers of the Israelites, right? Esau is the father, the progenitor of the Edomites, and Jacob, right, whose name was changed to Israel, he is the father of the Israelites. So guess what? The Moabites, the Ammonites, all of those guys were Hebrews, but they're not Israelites. Words of confusion, family. So here it is. Let's just go with what Josephus says. Let's just say if Josephus saying here is true. How can someone be anti-Semitic if their origins is Africa, right? And Africa, just the label itself, is a Semitic or Shemitic term, but I'm not going to stop there. Let's go to the Oxford Dictionary definition of Semitic. It says relating to or denoting a family of languages. See, initially that word Semitic was related to languages, but it morphed into ethnicity, a particular group of people. So we see here Hebrews, Arabic, Aramaic, and certain ancient languages such as Phoenician, Akkadian, constituting the main subgroup of the what? Afro-Asiatic family. Wait a minute. Afar. Guess what? Every Negro in this country every Negro in this country is referred to Afro-Asiatic, right? So this is telling us that Semitic is a subgroup of the Afro-Asiatics. So this is where it gets confusing. So how can someone be anti-self? How can someone be anti-Semitic when the word Semitic is a subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic family? How come we won't have a clear discussion about this? So when you see Arab, and it's not listed here, but also that's listed here is Amharic. Amharic is the modern term, but the ancient term is Ge'ez, but actually it's Ga'az. That is the Ethiopian language, right? The Ethiopian Hebrews, the Ethiopian Israelites. So Semitic is a subgroup. It is a subgroup. So when we go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary of Semitic, notice what it says here. It says of relating to or constituting a subfamily of Afro-Asiatics. Wait a minute. A subfamily of Afro-Asiatic languages, family that includes Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic, Amharic. Amharic, and again, Ge'ez or Ga'az, that is a Shemitic language that comes from the ancient Hebrew. But nevertheless, it says entry number two, of relating to characteristics of Semites. And then we see Jewish. All under, these come from the subgroups, as we saw in the previous definition. These subgroup, it's a subgroup of the Afro-Asiatics. But I'm not going to stop there. I keep showing this source here. Let me show one more source here. And I know I said I'm going to drop the link here. I am going to drop the link. Right? Notice again, a member of any of a number of peoples of ancient Southwestern Asian, including the Akkadians, Phoenicians, Hebrews, and Arabs. Now we're dealing with the word Semites. But we have to do the origin of this word to see how this word evolved from like the 17th, 18th century. Then when we get to this entry B, it says a descendant of these people, right? Descendant of these people, which is still a subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic people. So again, what is anti-Semitism, family? Because again, Kanye is being made out to be worse than Hitler. But these are the words, right? I'm just going to cut right to the chase. These are the words of President Harry Truman about the Jewish community, right? This is what he wrote in his diary, 1947 diary. This is what Harry Truman wrote. The Jews I find are very, very selfish. They care not how many Estonians, Latvians, Finns, Poles, Yugoslavs, or Greeks get murdered or mistreated as displaced persons, as long as the Jews get special treatment. Yet when they have power, physical, financial, or political, neither Hitler nor Stalin has anything on them for cruelty or mistreatment to the underdog. So you see here, and I'm going to make sure you see it in the back. You see, this is the Harry Truman. This is his diary from 1947. This is what he says. This is words out of his own mouth. But this is not being discussed. These are words out of his own mouth. That's right, Big Daddy Kane, Asiatic. Right? Asiatic. That was one of the things he highlighted. Asiatic, no pork on the fork. Right? So I'm just highlighting history here, family. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop this link, right? Because I keep my links. You know, now I can't say if the links changed or not, because you know how things go. You know, links can change and sources could change, and right. All right. Because I want to bring up one more thing. I'm going to drop the link in the comment section. It's so much that I can unpack here. right? But I want to share one more thing here, because the part of history that we don't hear about, the part of history that's not talked about, right? Let me see here. Do I want to cover any more from this slide? Yes. Let me cover one more thing from this slide, and then we'll pull up one more thing, and I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section. All right. Let's go here. You guys know I highlight this a few times, right? Because many of us, right, have gone and did the DNA. Your DNA is, especially those that are sons and daughters of slaves, your DNA is going to point you to, especially if you do 23andMe, you're going to see a large number of Nigeria there, and you're going to see Igbo there, right? And if you understand how important and what's the significance of that, I'm going to share with you in a second, right? Because the Igbo, you can spell it IBO or IBGO or IGBO rather, they were confirmed to be descendants, recognized as being descendants of the ancient Israelites. The ancient Israelites, right? I'm going to upload, because I have to do this, because if I'm going to mention something, I want to make sure you guys have the sources and you can hear, right? Because we have Rabbi Shapira talking with them as well. And they confirmed. I'm gonna see if I can upload it, because it's not here. I may have to upload it here, but we'll do it here in a second here. But let's read this here. Let's read a few clips here. The idea of race has historically slotted humans into a handful of categories: Asian, African, whites, etc. But research has shown that there can be as much genetic differences, and we'll deal with genetic difference in my other presentation. I'll pull it up here so you understand what genetic difference is within these races as between them. And experts say the notion that one skin tone and facial features alone can predict social behavior is plain wrong, right? So it's really important for all of us to resist the attempt to revive this discredited notion that race is a biological category rather than a political and social category, as I've been talking about. The Forward is a Jewish publication that's been around since like 1890. It's a Jewish publication. So I want to reiterate that point, right? And I'm going to post this article in the comments section, so that way you guys can go back and you can validate, even while we're live together. You can validate, and it will show you, it will prove to you that just what I'm saying is true. So the Forward is a Jewish publication. So let me pull it up here. I thought I had, oh, here it is. I'm going to drop the link again, and then I'm going to pull up one other source here, and then we're going to get into it, right? Drop the link here. It's so much, man, to try to keep this in one simple conversation. But these are the discussions that no one want to talk about, right? So want to encourage everyone, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to this channel. But these are the discussions that we need to have, family. You know, why is it that we cannot talk about our history? Why can't we, with these sources, help put together, connect the dots, right? Why do we have to be pushed or promoted as if we are crazy for doing the research and getting clarity of who we are? Right. So it says it's really important for all of us to resist the attempt to revive this discredited notion that race is a biology category rather than a political and social category, said Marcy Donofsky, director of the Center for Genetic and Society, a nonprofit scientific ethics group. So again, this is the Forward. I'm not going to get into the institution of race, but I just want to highlight more from this article. This is the key here. It says Ashkenazic Jews often find themselves in the peculiar situation of being 90% Ashkenazi Jewish and 99% European. Let me say that again. This is a Jewish publication, The Forward, that prides itself on protecting the Jewish community. And I'm not throwing any slander at this publication, but I'm just making it clear. I'm just using them as a source, right? They question, saying that, hey, those within the Jewish community should not be using DNA to try to say that they're part of the Caucasian race, the white race. That's what they're talking about. The dangers of DNA, of using it to try to push the notion of the institution of race, because the institution of race was not based upon any scientific equations. You know, and Audrey Smetley, a famous or a very notable anthropologist, she made it clear when she wrote about this for PBS. So notice what it says here. Ashkenazic Jews often find themselves in the peculiar situation of being 50% Ashkenazi Jewish and 99% European. Wait a minute. So it's saying the Ashkenazi Jewish community, and for those that don't understand Ashkenaz in Genesis chapter 10, right? Those first 5 verses, I believe down at the 5th verse, between the 4th and 5th verse, you'll see that it starts off with the sons of Noah. But under the sons of Noah, the particular son Japheth, you will see Gomer being the son of Japheth. And under Japheth, right, you will see Gomer. Then from Gomer, you will see the term Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is transliterated. It's interchangeable with Germany, right? Ashkenaz, Germany. Ashkenazi, German. So when you see Ashkenazi, that's synonymous to German. This telling you the place of origin. So the Forward saying here, 99% says 90% Ashkenazi Jewish and 99% European. So 99% European. What does that mean? And I'm going to show you this when I get back to the other source. Sephardic Jews may be told they are mostly Middle Eastern and North African and less than 10% Ashkenazic, right? Let me go further here. This guy by the name of Stuart Schaufman did his DNA. They actually had him in this article. You can read and get into the details here, but notice what it says here. It says, I was curious. This is his testimony. I was curious because you never know, says Schaufman. Family stories are just stories. Schaufman, who learned that he is 99.8% Ashkenazi Jewish, said that test hasn't made much of a difference. He's saying he did a DNA test, right? He learned that he is 99.8% Ashkenazi Jewish, which still falls in line to telling him that he's basically almost 100% European, 99.8% European. Said the test hasn't made much of a difference on his sense of Jewish identity. Judaism really informed who I am and my values and my worldview. So Judaism, this belief system, this religion, it says Judaism really informed who I am and my values and my worldview. So he says Judaism is telling him who his identity is through Judaism, even though the DNA is telling him he's basically 99.8% European. He's saying Judaism is telling him who he is, telling him that he is Israeli. All right. He says, Schaufman says, 23andMe hasn't made me more or less Jewy at all. I'm just Jewy. However, Schaufman added, he's Jewy and white, while other Jews, Sephardic Jews, Ethiopian Jews, can't claim distinction. He's an ethnic minority, but a white one nonetheless. And here's the kicker. He says, I get all the benefits of white privilege, he acknowledged. So he's saying that he's Jewish by way of not Sephardics, but Ashkenazi, and he gets all the benefits that comes with the territory of white privilege. Family, you can't make this up. That's why I'm using sources. All right. So let me toggle back over to this other source real quick, and then I'm going to drop this inside the comment section. All right. I know we're doing this late night playbook, and it's still tying into to Kanye West, and again, it's bigger than Kanye West in terms of when we start looking at what's happening right now. It goes beyond Kanye West. It goes beyond Kanye West. Again, these labels, man, it's so quick to put labels on people. It's so easy. It's easy to find someone guilty in court of public opinion versus going to the actual court system. And see, that's the key. It's easy to condemn again somebody in the court of public opinion. But the question is, what about the court system? All right. But let me bring this up here. Let me go to this here because I want to, and we'll answer the question on genetic distances because I did mention that. But I want to bring up a key point here, a key source here. Right. All right. Let me bring this up here. All right. Let me share this here. I just want to put this out there since we have some people watching for the first time. And I want to put this up here about the Igbos. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Always a teachable moment, family. Always a teachable moment. Let's see here. And this is the discussion that you won't hear in the church. These are the discussions that you won't hear the conscious community. None of these guys will have. Right? Let's pull this up. The Jewish Almanac by Rains Carl Siegel, Richard, 1980, page 49. Let's see what it says. Right? Henry Alfred Kissinger, right? The Jewish Almanac, 1980. I encourage you guys to purchase this book. Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State under President Nixon, right? Jewish, right? That's what the Jewish Almanac is all about, giving a history of the Jews, the Jewish people, right? Giving a history of the Jewish people. So Henry Alfred Kissinger, U.S. Secretary of State under President Nixon. I just want to show you this here, right? Let me drop this source inside the comment section. Let me drop the source in the comment section so that way no one can say that I'm not giving sources. Let me drop the source in the comment section. Let me drop it in the comment section, right? All right, that's Jewish Almanac. You could get this on Amazon used, probably spend anywhere from $50 to $100 on it, but it's worth the price. It's well worth the price. All right. Now, let's see what Henry Kissinger said in his memorandum. Right. This is coming from the archives. This is a government document right here. Foreign Relations, 1969 to 1976, volume E-5. Documents on Africa, 1969 to 1972. Memorandum, Henry A. Kissinger. Let's see what Henry Kissinger says. Notice what he says here. The Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, gifted, aggressive, westernized. But the key is he recognized that the Igbos, just like the Sephardic, I'm trying to think of the Federation name. If you guys remember the name, some of you guys are watching, let me know, and I'll see if I can put it up here, and I'll make sure I give clarity to the people that are watching, and you can confirm that, right? So the Igbos, the wandering Jews of West Africa, didn't say that they're like, they didn't say that they probably be. He made it clear that the Igbos, are the wandering Jews of Africa. Now, the word Jew is a word of confusion because today, when we hear the word Jew, it's being used synonymous to Israel, right? When you look at it from a biblical perspective in the origin of the word, that's right, the Obadiah Alliance, right? Thank you for putting that up here. The Obadiah Alliance, right, confirmed that the Igbos, right, are proven to be descendants, in the Obadiah Alliance is a Sephardic group, right? A Sephardic Jewish group, right? And they confirmed that the Igbos are blood descendants of the ancient Israelites, right? We already know about the Limba, right? And again, something that cannot be contested. Let me put that up here. I'm gonna go to their website and see if they have the letter, the confirmation, the affirmation of them. And that's right. TD Jake said that he is a Igbo. Right? That's right. I believe that. I believe that. I believe that. I mean, but think about it. As Candace Owens stated, that many of them are scared to say or have enter into the discussion of what's happening right now with Kanye West because of pressure, right? So notice here again, Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, gifted, aggressive, westernized. So again, family, it's a fact, right? That at least one out of every Negro that came off those slave ships were Igbos, at least one out of every. At least one out of every Negro that came off those slave ships were Igbos. So that means Israelites. So again, that word Jew is a word of confusion because that word of confusion is you're using the word Jew, which is supposed to be a transliteration of when we deal with Judah, right? Judah, the southern kingdom, Judah, the tribe, Judah, the son of Jacob, Judah, Judas, right? That's his real name is Judah. So when we look at that word Jew is now being used synonymous with Israel, thus causing a lot of confusion, even how you read the Bible. Because when you see Jew first, Greek, then the Greeks, that's a word of confusion. It's causing a lot of problems. Just like this word Semitic, even if labeled anti-Semitic. As Kanye West said it right here, I'm going to play it one more time, right? And I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section. I'm not sure if Sister Carol is still there. I'm not sure if Benet and some of you guys are still there, but I'm going to drop the link in the comment section. All right. But let me play this one more time as I drop the link in the comment section. Let me drop the link here. I got more to show, right? And I'll deal with the genetic distances so that way you guys can understand. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop this comment in the, I'm going to drop the link here. I'm going to drop the link here. And then I'm going to go to play Kanye West, right? You can hear it in his own words that he had no clue about what anti-Semitism even is, right? I'm going to play it, right? But also I'm going to drop a link too for those that are not familiar with the DEF CON, right? Of what DEF CON really is. Let me drop that link too. Has nothing to do with nuclear wars and all that other stuff. It's a state of readiness, right? Let me pull it up here. Let me drop this link here real quick. All right, I meant to put this in there. I meant to cover it, but I'm gonna drop the link. Right, they also have a DEF CON website you could go to. All right. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to let you guys hear Kanye's words himself, right? Let me bring it up real quick so you can hear his own words. You hear him speak for himself. He didn't know what the word Semitic is, right? He had no clue about what it is. All right, here we go. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Anti-Semitic statements are never good for anybody, right? It's kind of like being anti-black.
But, you know, it's really interesting. I didn't realize that I could be considered anti-Semitic till I read one of the definitions of anti-Semitism. Look at this. The definition says, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as a collective, such as, especially, but not exclusively. This sounds like a, let them go by. All right, so it says, think about it, that sounds like the type of wording that's in the contracts, right?
Indeed. All right, so you hear Kanye making it clear that he did not know what the word means. And a lot of people don't know what the word means, whether it's Semitic, because some would say Semitic, some would say Shemitic, some would say, they use different phrases, even with really getting a grasp on what really is anti-Semitism, what is actually Semitism, what is Semite, as we dealt with the word Semitic. All right, let me bring my sister Carol on. Hey, how's it going, Sister Carol?
Wow, you walking tall tonight, stepping on all kind of necks and legs and arms and limbs with this documentation, this discussion you have going on tonight, with 1,500 people in the chat watching.
Wow, I didn't realize that many people watching.
Yeah, it's that many in there. Yep, all eyes on you, Tupac.
No, man, I'm not Tupac, not Tupac, but I just wanted to have this discussion because, especially when we start looking at social media, we know how things can be amped up with social media, and like I said, we've already said this a number of times that could Kanye West have done things a little different or said things a little different, or that we didn't agree with some of the things that he's said in the past. But when you listen to him, he's making it clear that even with the word anti-Semitism, it sounds like, even listening to him, he didn't have a clear understanding of what the word meant.
No, he did not.
So again, and for me is, taking a step beyond that is when we start getting into history, about us, about our people, when it comes to identifying with who we are. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm not saying that every person of color is connected to ancient Israel, but my heritage was always clear from my family, saying that I'm a descendant of Israel, my family heritage, right? And DNA proved that. But it seems as if we still have to deal with a great amount of ridicule because of that.
Absolutely.
So that's why I just wanted to go do this teaching here, because unfortunately, these are some of the things that come with the territory of the climate that we live in. It just seems like no matter what we do as a people, we just get the lower end of the stick no matter what.
Absolutely.
Now again, that's why I want to make sure that when I talk here tonight, and anytime I do presentations like this, I want to make sure this is about doctrine. This is about dealing with religions. I'm not dealing with trying to get personal with anyone, right? Even though my history is personal for me. So before I say anything else, someone else is sitting in the back here. Let me see who this is here. Let me see it. Eloy. Eloy, I hope I didn't mispronounce your name.
It's all right. It's Eloy.
Eloy. Okay. How you doing tonight?
Good evening to you. I ran across your live feed and I saw the conversation, and I was watching what the things that you were describing and the books and the quotations and all that. And obviously this the situation that's going on is a big to-do with Kanye. And I wanted to chime in a couple of points according to the things you said, but you said a lot. Just a point of view that I wanted to express that I think often falls the wayside, but maybe not. But I think it's not emphasized enough. If I could do that.
Okay.
Okay. So, you mentioned a lot of things. This gentleman, the artist, very famous. I particularly don't listen to his stuff. Never have, but I'm a rock and roll guy. He has a strong voice. He happens to belong to a very minority group, in my opinion, which is the individual, which is the first standard, in my opinion, that one should focus on when going back and forth with people, interacting day to day. You
Yeah.
don't confront a wall of a certain category of people, although we see categories, but categories in the brain that are used, generally speaking, to make broad block concepts functional so that people can move about. But a lot of people get stuck in the broad block concepts of categorizing people and things and such, and never.
Now, real quick, as you're saying that, would you agree that race, the institution of race, the whole construct, the system itself, falls right in alignment with what you just pointed out? It promotes that.
110%. Although you can't go 110%.
Absolutely, I know what you're saying, but yeah.
Yeah, because what it is it was a tool. There's two things to that. There's many things to that, but two that I want to point out. One, we have to do it as individuals if we're curious and just want to know. It's hard to go back, focus the lens, and look at the people back then, in particularly the colonization and transatlantic slave trade. It's difficult to go back and not overjudge from our vantage point today. And what I'm trying to say is people today may continue to and do have certain biased ideas and racist ideas and such. We see it. But those people were trapped in a time warp of their own where certain things politically and such were happening. But regardless, you have to go back and examine the past. So I agree with that. I'm just saying that a lot of people look at the past and then. So we are descendants from all our ancestors, but we're not culpable. You don't go to court and, well, it's a funny thing because you can turn that around. I'm conscientious enough to say, but we don't apparently go in front of a judge for the actions of a father or grandfather or great grandfather and so on, at face value. Okay, and I know it's more complicated because I've been studying.
I know what you're saying. I'm following you.
Okay, so it is complicated, but going back to the situation, we are individuals first. So this artist, formerly known as such, now as Ye, he has a big platform. He said things that are in the context of broad category for a population of people, which you were trying to sort of like clear up on these very specific things like Semitic and such. And this, these people are for the Ashkenazis, generationally in Europe, Germany, and so on and so forth. But like all of us, we're the ancestors of so many people, and they, by hook or crook, trace back to a beginning, just like any of us would, even though they're European. they've been persecuted under the label of Jew and under the label of the attributes that have been placed upon them, whether or not people think it's true or not. They've been persecuted under that category to the point where they're not even looked at as, let's say, white. So they have been persecuted. When you attack, when what he said was wrong and bigoted, it doesn't mean that he's an evil human being that should be destroyed and the end of the universe should occur. But it does mean that he has a position of power, and what he said was bigoted. A lot of people say things that are bigoted, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? He could have not used he could have said Mr. Such and Such, talent agent such and such, and Mr. So and so and Mr. Such and such. That would have been better, because you can flip it around and take any other group and do the same thing to them and say, oh, this group of people attacked me, and therefore all of them are culpable of the actions of a few. I've seen it happen to other groups constantly. Online comments where they say, oh, it must be because all these people are so and so and all these people are such and such. They're not thinking. They're just saying, let's group all these people because we don't like them, because we've been taught that way, or we're just naturally, angry. So let's group all of these people as if they function as one collective organ. And that's not true. It's not true for African Americans, it's not true for Hispanic people. It's not true for German guy. It's not true for any of them. We're responsible for ourselves as individuals, and if we do wrong, it's on us, not my father and my sister and my cousin and so on and so forth. I think that's the best way.
I definitely understand where you're getting at with that about Kanye being responsible for his actions. I'm not taking away, and I'm not saying that he's not responsible for his actions. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but we have to be real about far as what happened to when I say our people, my ancestors. Just the layers of oppression, systemic racism, the things that we have to be subjected to. The 400 years, so to speak, behind the curve. We don't have generational wealth that's most of us that have been handed down, and a lot of generational wealth has been established off that institution of slavery, right? So I definitely understand your point, but at the same time, I want to put that out there that yes, even though I understand what you're trying to say, as far as convey that we can't hold our ancestors, so to speak, be held for their decisions, the decisions that they made, but at the same time, many are still benefiting from the decisions that they made, especially when it comes to generational wealth, right? Mm-hmm. And so my question for you, and I'm gonna bring someone else on here too that just jumped in. My question to you is, right, because I stated this before in my other presentations with dealing with this situation, that when that word death versus DEFCON can make a world of a difference, right? So I said it from the beginning, I couldn't agree with him using that, right? In any expression, but when he explained himself, he said it was a typo, right? But okay, we give him that. But for me is, and my question for you, the other part of that tweet, he said that blacks are Jews, right? He didn't say those people over there are not Jews, but we're the Jews over here. In that statement, he said that blacks here in America are Jews, right? What are your thoughts on that? Because when you think of anti-Semitism and when you think about Jew and Jewish, so to speak, and especially some of the things like myself is dealing with and others that are watching, we get a lot of ridicule of like, no way in the world could you be connected to the ancient people of the book, whereas though my family tradition proved it, my DNA, because I say, hey, not hey, I say others would say, show me a DNA proved it, and others are proving it, but we still deal with a lot of ridicule, but no protection. We get labels, but no protection. So do you think that when Kanye said that part of blacks being Jews, or, we already know the word Jew, where it is now is not where it was in the 16th century, because at that time it was being used for Judah, specifically. Now it's being used synonymously with Israel. Kind of a confusion, could be confusing for many. But what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so by hook or crook, at the level of at the broad by hook or crook at the level of a broad just overview of it. Now this doesn't satisfy your question directly, but I can answer that. But I want to be clear at the broad level. When you think of African Americans, they can be literally of any persuasion or category or subcategory in the world, because it's not the concept of you have this group. So look, yes, can they be? Absolutely. Can they not be? At the broad level, more than likely, all of them are, or all of us are anyhow, because when you go back in time, it's like a funnel, and we're not the same population we were when we started in this life, in this, generations and generations back. We all end up with a few people walking around, and they do inevitably end up in Africa, according to science. So in theory, or no, I'm sorry, in as far as, their reckoning in science, what they have and what they know, we all originate in Africa, period. Within the concept of science. Now, if you're going to look at, no, my people were from the snowy mountains of this, or my people were, they may have been for a few hundred years, maybe 1,000 years. But if you trace it back through the blood, it all goes back to one source. That's science. I believe that because that's what's shown, and it makes freaking sense, and it's biblical too. We all return. So yes, on the broad level, yes. Specifically, maybe in some cases, maybe not in others directly, but inevitably, yes. That's how I think of it.
Okay. All right. Benet, appreciate you being on, cuz, and this is my cousin and sister Carol. Going to bring them on here. Anything else that you wanted to add or say before I let them say something? Because I got others that want to jump on as well.
Yeah, just one last thing. One of, and I appreciate. Thank you for having me on and allowing me to express myself. Just one last thing. In America, in the United States of America, I think that, don't get me wrong, but I don't know what other word to use. I think that there's a slight cultural sickness that we're all, to one degree or the other, it's in the ether, in the air, it's around, and it's to do with that very same topic of categorizing people. When you look across the way and you look at people on the basis of skin, as an example, be it Latino, be it African American, those categories are thought in a general sense, as far as I've seen, as block, no one shall trespass categories. But people are more dynamic. People are individuals. A person from New York, of whatever persuasion or background or ethnicity, that may share the same certain qualities as a person out in California, has frickin' nothing to do with the dude over in frickin' New York. Nothing. They may share some similarities. It could be the presumption of race, which is bullcrap. Excuse the word. It could be the presumption of race, and people, the guy in New York and the guy in California, therefore, those two are attached at the hip. America has that lingering thing where that exists, and people believe it because it takes extra effort to think beyond that. And I think we can't call on people to do stuff and expect them to do it. Humans are humans, and they're going to be rambunctious. So I think, at least saying it, people are stuck in this whole race thing. I'm not saying that specifically for like African American, everybody. And I think that treat people according to their actual treatment of you and their behavior and ethics, not based on shallow stuff, even religion or any other category. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, well, hey, I appreciate you for jumping on. And what is your do you have a belief system? What is do you have a religion? Do you have a belief system that you follow? Just curious.
Oh, okay. I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
I've seen some of the stuff Catholic. I grew up, but that's a it's just you can't block me. So I grew up Catholic. However, after the fact, I went in the direction of Protestant. I don't judge Catholic. Let people do as they choose, as long as they don't hurt you and be fraudulent towards you and so on. Have at it. And my background is I'm a first generation American. My family originates back from me to Cuba, and
Cubana. Okay.
And from Cuba, my grandfather was. So I have my ancestors after my mom and dad are from north of Spain, south of Spain, Canary Islands, and Italy. So I'm like a Southern European, Mediterranean type of a person, background or whatnot. But like it just it's a history. You look back, but it's not. We're all different, man, and so I just wanted to put that out there. If we don't look at shallow surface things as much and put honor in front, even it's hard to do, right? Because I can judge somebody, look at them and say, okay, that's it, I'm judging you. But is that really the truth of the matter? I'm going to judge this person. I've been screwed over by people that I could block them into a group and say that group sucks. But that's not. Is that accurate?
Well, so do you feel like Kanye West deserved to be under the high level of scrutiny that he's under, with the canceling and all those different things, and being made to be in some groups saying that he's worse than Hitler?
I think that he screwed up in his. I don't think he was informed in that whole thing. And I think it was natural for him to just say, oh, that group, because it's a very American thing to say. And I think that it struck a nerve and people reacted to it or reacting to it. And I think people in power that own companies that may be of that particular, group will say, well, I'm not going to do business. And so it's like a domino effect. I don't know that if he were a regular Joe guy and not this famous, that it would have even been so I think the problem is that it was like kind of like the storm at the gates that just blew open because of his status and his connections around I mean, he's more powerful than countless number of Jewish people. He's more powerful than countless number of white people, whatever these categories may mean to each person. He's more powerful than all sorts of people. So he is an icon, but he is not alone. Like he lives in a world where there's other people, and if you hurt other people and you're in a position of power, I mean, so yeah. So long story short, should he be freaking condemned and this? I don't think so. I think that he should go and say, well, look, it's these individuals that did this bad stuff, and we're gonna fight them. And then you get all that negativity off of your back, because now you're indicating so and so did wrong, like you would in court. You don't go to court if somebody breaks into your car and say, well, it was a Hispanic guy, therefore we're going to judge everybody from blocks, all these 5 blocks. You have, if you're going to accuse, it's better to accuse individuals. It's easy to say, oh, you know what, all out. They were burning and looting last year, so all African Americans, just Black Lives Matter, look what they've done. So all of them. That's bad. But they do it. But it's wrong. What? I'm sorry. I saw something pop up. But it's wrong. It's wrong to do. And so should he be destroyed? I don't know that he should be destroyed. I think that he's in a precarious situation due to his power.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and let some others jump on. Thank you for jumping online, and I really appreciate the dialogue. And feel free. We'll be here next Saturday. But really appreciate you jumping on. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
I want to thank you, and I wish you the best. Thank you for being honorable and allowing the dialogue. God bless.
All right.
Well, boxes.
Hey, how you guys doing here? Let me do this real quick.
How's my audio? Hopefully it's okay. That's why.
I was
Yeah,
waiting
I
on
can hear you
Batman.
guys.
Okay.
No, well, I want to be respectful. I did want to get some, some Kanye West questions, some just to hear his thoughts on it, so that people can hear and
Right.
listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's of a common commentary that's out in the airwaves. It's all about the same situation of we can't say anything unless we have codes to talk. We can't say anything unless they approve it prior to speaking. We can't say anything because it shows that we're against a group of people. But the whole entire time, these groups of people are against one group of people, and that's us, who keeps us in this box or this block, as he stated so eloquently, that we can't get out of.
Yeah. Now, cuz what do you think about the whole situation, and even what you heard here tonight, especially with the guy that came on? I did say I was going to cover touch a little bit on the genetic distances, but I may do that another time. But what do you think, cuz?
No, good discussion. Good discussion. Great lesson. Thank you for bringing this to the forefront. It's that everybody's it's front and center. Of course, it's all over the place, right? But for me, it's I'm kind of like on both sides of the fence here, where I'm seeing, or in my mind, I'm seeing a lynching. I'm seeing a public lynching in the mainstream media is, they're the ones that's stoking the fires. They're stoking the mob, right? They're gathering the mob, and I get I don't want to say nervous, but I get upset when I see Black folks sitting back and letting that happen. Regardless of what happened, you have to know that when one of your own gets attacked like that, you at the very least have to kind of step in and say, well, hold on, hey, wait a minute, either go in and moderate or try to get to the bottom of it. Maybe there was some sort of misunderstanding, but you don't just sit back and let it happen. And when you're looking at history, you start to see things in history repeat itself. And one of the things when I was looking at the history in Africa and looking at how some of the slave raiders would actually go into the bush country and grab and get the slaves or whatnot. One of the lessons learned that I got from that was, there was the Arabs or the Muslims would complain, or they didn't necessarily complain, but they would say things like, man, these people are abundant. It's like they outnumber us, basically is what they were saying. And they said that, and if they only knew, if they worked together, we would be in trouble. Because what they were doing is that they were systematically going into the back country of Africa and getting the slaves, and if you can imagine them, picture your own neighborhood, right? Where you got houses, one after the other lined up going down the street, right? And just imagine someone starting at the end of the street, this mob goes and attacks the house at the end of the street. They're taking the family out, right? They're looting and robbing, but everyone else in the community is looking at this take place and saying, wow, man, wow, that's really bad. They should really do something about it. But they're just sitting back and letting it happen and not intervening. Like, that's what happened in Africa. and the people that were actually doing the looting and the robbing, they had a how can I put it? They were afraid that if the neighborhood had banded together, that they would stop them from taking they would stop them from doing what they were doing. I guess is what I'm saying. And this is what I feel as though as Black folks that we have to do is that whenever you see the mob attack a house in your neighborhood, you don't just sit back and let it happen. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, cuz go ahead.
No, just I was finishing up. I was saying you don't sit back and let it happen. As a neighborhood, you go and stop the mob. And then if there's any issues that you have to work out, then you work out. But you have to, as a neighborhood, you go and stop the mob from coming into your neighborhood. Go ahead, Gus.
Yeah, because see, the way that I was raised, and I was raised old school, is one thing we always had to talk or the reminder before we left the house, me and my brothers and all of us, 14 of us being raised in one 2-bedroom apartment. But we were always reminded that, when we walk outside these doors, don't let anyone harm your family, regardless of our disagreements outside these doors, that if someone come at any one of us, we all better be fighting together.
Correct.
Right. And it's the same thing with this Kanye West situation, like you pointed out. In other communities, they protect each other.
Correct.
But in our community, you see most of our people are throwing them under, not most, I'm gonna say many of our people are throwing them up under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them supposedly know scripture. But I just couldn't get with that program. Can't understand that. How can we throw our own people up under the bus? Even in the book of Nehemiah, right? They built the wall, and then once they built the wall, then they started dealing with their internal issues. They built the wall first. They didn't deal with their internal issues before building the wall. They were like, "Hey, look, let's build this wall. Now that this wall is up, now let's deal with our internal issues, free from the outside." So I totally agree with you, Vinaya.
Yeah, if you look at where this Black Wall Street or some of these other catastrophic events that started by lynching, I mean, we're the reason why, like I said, a lynching comes to mind. That is normally, like for example, with a lynching, there's some sort of issue that occurs, right? And then there's the mob forms. Then the police officer or the local authority step in, and for a lot of cases, when we're talking back in the early 1900s, shortly after slavery, they would take the so-called Black person that made this offense, and they would take him and put him in the jail, right, awaiting, and basically they would be awaiting their day in court. They would be waiting their day before a judge, right, to kind of work things out. But when the mob forms, and what they do is that they take actions. I mean, they take the law into their own hands, and unfortunately, that's when a lot of our people died. You talk about from the 1910s, 1915s, 1920s. The Red Summer. I mean, Pastor Kelly, I know you have a lot of information on that. Those years, it's like a span of years. From 1910 and 1920s, you're talking about a lot of bad things happened to Black folks, and lynchings was one of them. And like I said, if you know your history, family, this has the hallmarks of a lynching, and I'm just disappointed in our people for sitting back and letting it happen.
Absolutely. Want to give a shout out to Dante Forston. I dropped a link in the comment section, Dante, if you want to jump on. We always have room for you. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the contribution, family. Let's show some love to Dante Forston, Black History in the Bible. For those that are watching for the first time, Black History of the Bible, Dante Forston put together a repository that has all kinds of sources that you can name and sources that you wouldn't even think exist, with so many sources proof of who we are, who was on those slave ships, who do we descend from. So I want to just encourage everyone, subscribe to his channel, check out Black History of the Bible. Really appreciate you, Dante, and the link is in the comment section for you. All right, appreciate you. All right, Sister Kyrie, you going to say something?
Yes, I was going to say something to Benea. Speaking of sources, you dropped a major nugget the other night you went live, and you dropped the House of Commons whole entire literature of the slave trade, showing everybody, I do mean everybody, who was involved in it, the ships they owned, how much they used and purchased, where they dropped our people off, what they did with them. It's everything that you can think of that went on in that slave trade is in that document. That is the legal document of the House of Commons of Britain, Great Britain. That document, I suggest everyone, I put in the link on both channels, the backup channel as well as the main channel, for people to download and read it. It has a plethora of information that no one on this planet, I don't care who you are, can deny that it happened, who was involved in it, when and where the drops off, the pickups and the drop offs happened, who was paid. Everything is in there. When it was stopped, why it was stopped, the whole 9 yards. And you want to talk about reparations? That's the document for reparations. And it links the same people that Michael Jackson pushed against, that Prince pushed against, and now Kanye's pushed against, and not even before them. You had Little Richard push against these people. So many people pushed against these people the exact same way, and the same thing happened to them. The same word was thrown at them. And this word was only created in 1860 in Germany for a reason, to protect them. Protect them for what? For a time to now. It wasn't so much about the persecutions that was going on allegedly to them. Because it was their own people persecuting them, because they were all Germans. They would just happen to be Germans who practiced Judaism. Let's get that straight. You're not born to Judaism. You are practicing a religion. No different than Christianity. They're the same. It's a religion. So it was Germans persecuting Germans. And Russians and Khazars and Ukrainians and Polish. All in that region. But that document, Benea, that you dropped that night, I have been reading that like a child with a toy. Because it points to every single thing that we've been talking about. That is the Confederacy of what went on in that war against our people.
And I want to share some too, Sister Carol. First, I want to say shout outs to CTG. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. Really appreciate you, family. Let's show some love and support for CTG for contributing to what we're doing here. Really appreciate you. Thank you again, my brother. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, those that are watching, hit that like and hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. And to your point, I wanted to share something here real quick. Who is this here? Got somebody else here real quick. Let me see who this is real quick. Brack.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Oh, sure. Okay. So I just wanted to say that it's a bit of a complicated situation, because we all know, Kanye said slavery was a choice, and then he goes with what he says about George Floyd, and then with the White Lives Matter shirt, it's like in so many ways, I feel like he tries to push himself away from his people in the hopes of being with the others. And I don't know what happened between the two. I think something happened. They had a bad deal. I don't know what, which made him, come out. What happened that made him say what he said? That he got a bad deal or something? But I feel like what they're doing is they're coming after all of us, because if any one of us says something, they get so agitated and so canceling, whereas when others such as Mel Gibson or whatever says things, not so much happens to them.
Absolutely. Now with the Kanye thing, and I will say that far as his comments that he made uh, about George Floyd and some of the other things that he said about slavery, you know, the key is why did with him making a post and he made it clear it was done in error and he get canceled from every angle, right?
Yeah.
But when he said that about the Black Lives Matter, nothing happened. You know, a few people was upset, but that was it. When he wore the shirt, white lives matter. You know what I mean? When he said the things he said about slavery. But when it comes to stating on a post, DEF CON versus DEF CON, and he admitted that he made a mistake, right? It was a typo. He admitted, but either way, you know, why is it that he's dealing with this level of scrutiny now versus the scrutiny that he should have dealt with when he said that about uh, slavery being a choice, when he said that some of the things he said about uh, George Floyd, even though looking at what I saw, you know, he still, that whole discussion looked like it was based off of something with Candace Owens or whatever the case may be, documentary. But for me, even aside from all those things, right? For me, this gives some credence to what he said about who's running what, who's pulling the strings.
Right.
Because look at what we see happening. Like you said, now you have other people, other platforms, you know, within our community. You say one thing that even may sound like it's in the arena of that particular group of people, what's going to happen? So I understand your point that you're making and what you've made. Yes, he said some off the wall stuff, and I agree with you. He said some off the wall stuff, but for me, going back to Benea's point, even with when you study some of the history of our people, they had that crazy uncle, they had that crazy cousin,
Right.
right? That the family did not want to be around, but when it came push come to shove, they would not let another community come in and deal with them.
Right. That's what I'm saying, because I do think that in retaliation to what he said, I feel like they want to go after all of us, because whether it's Nick Cannon or if it's a Black person that says something, they come crushingly hard. But if it's like a Caucasian, they get a pass. Like, people aren't as outraged and things like that. And I think we have to take both things into consideration. Like, for sure, we shouldn't let them take Kanye and lynch him. That's terrible. But at the same time, I don't want us to think of Kanye in like a guru, or now he's like way up there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
No, I definitely understand your point. Not idolizing them, you know, and I think for most of us, we're just talking about or discussing the fact that it's triggering a discussion and pushing that discussion even further. That's where I'm at with it. Again, you know, for me is when you hear about Kyrie or Irving now, I'm up at this same time yesterday, and I see some come across my news feed about Kyrie Irving being called out because he just made a post about Hebrews to Negro movie. He just made a post about it, and he was being subjected to all kinds of scrutiny. You know what I mean? So, to your point, where does it stop? Where does it end? How far are those tentacles going to reach? So, but really appreciate you, sis. Got some other people jumping on, and
Can I
thank you
say
for
one
the
more
love
thing?
and support. Go ahead.
Can I say one more thing?
Well, before you do so, let me give some shout outs real quick. Let me say peace and blessings to Dawn. All is vanity. Want to say thank you for the love and support with the super sticker. Also want to say, who else do we have here? Missed some of them. If I missed you, please, like the old school would say, charge it to my head, not to my heart. And you guys could blame Brack because she hogged up the mic and she didn't allow me to give you guys some shout outs here. So
It was son of Shemite. Son of
Okay.
Shemite. Give a shout out to him. He
All right,
gave
I
you
got it.
super
I got
sticker.
here. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Want to say Summer Shemites, Lorvins and family, subscribe, get his song, his music. Great musician, doing some great things. Really appreciate him. Appreciate you, my brother. And I thought it was someone else, but we'll get it. Go ahead, sis, real quick, and then I'm gonna bring my brother Jacobo on. And I think we got a couple other people in the background as well.
Okay, really quick. I just want to say I can't stress enough, and I beg you all that we really do need to get our community together. You know, we need action. We need to start helping each other and living within a community and actually, you know, buying from each other and doing things. Like we have to live not just on the computer. You know what I mean? Like we have to actually help one another and build schools and have schools, institutions, stores, and things like that. Otherwise, we keep saying we don't have power, but we don't try to get power. And I just want that you know, that we really try. That's all.
All right. Well, hey, really appreciate you, sis. And we're going to keep the discussion going next week as well. Thank you for jumping on anytime. Thank you again for sharing your thoughts. Really appreciate you. All right. And have a good one. All right, Yakoba, and I got my buddy Go Black to Africa in the building. But go ahead, Yakoba, got you on.
What's up, Pastor Kelly? What's up, Banya? Sister Carol. You know me, Pastor Kelly. I'm on the opposite side of this thing with you all because normally I would be with Kanye, right? I mean, everything he said, I have no problem with. I mean, he looks like he's taking a stand for the community, right? And normally I would be with you on this, you know, just like I was saying on Ashonda's show, you know, I didn't wash my beef with Ron because Ron, I know, is a brother, right? Ron, I know, is pursuing the gospel and promoting Yeshua, right? Kanye has a history not only of this whole thing with, you know, White Lives Matter and some other things he said, you know, with slavery, but he has a history of being associated with satanic imagery, right? And also having friends who are quote unquote Satanists, known Satanists. So my whole thing is, okay, how can we support somebody who hangs out with a Satanist, right? I'm talking about Marilyn Manson, right? And he's a known Satanist. I ain't saying nothing nobody don't know. So it's like,
isn't that Jay-Z? I thought that was Jay-Z hanging out with Marilyn Manson.
No, Kanye at the service, the Sunday service.
Mm-hmm.
It was him and Justin Bieber, right? So
well,
my whole
it's
thing
going,
is,
it looked like everybody dumped him, right? So he ain't hanging out with nobody, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Good, I'm sorry.
But here's the thing: it's sort of like for me, right? I don't have friends, right? The reason why I don't have friends is because my standard is too high, right? My standard of if I got your back, you have my back. Right. So if I have a friend and he's hanging out with my enemy, right, then how is he my friend? You can hang out with me and you can hang out with my enemy and you're my friend. Right. So that's the problem I have. Right. I can't give him the slide like some of y'all do. I can't do it until I see true repentance Now, this is from somebody who's a believer, who's who's been in ministry. Not that I'm a Christian anymore. I'm a believer, a follower of Yahuwah. But my whole point is, if I say I follow Yeshua, how can I support somebody who hang out with a known Satanist? I can't do it unless I see true repentance. I haven't seen it. So the day I see true repentance, then I'm with them. Otherwise, I think it's a setup.
Definitely appreciate it, and you're right to have your opinion for me, right? And I'm gonna make it clear, and I said this on my brother Go Black to Africa. He'll tell you I said this. I am not falling on the sword for Kanye. I'm not. That's not where I'm advocating. But for me, what I look at this whole thing is the discussion that's coming out of it. There's a lessons learned that we all can learn from this, and he's definitely, a lot of things are being exposed in the process. Now, again, I am not falling on the sword for him. I'm not falling, why? Because number one, he got more than enough money to have other people fall on the sword for him, right? That's number one. But again, we know about his inconsistencies and all those different things. Well, for me, I'm looking at the discussion right now. What is the discussion right now? And how it's going to affect all of us? Because all of us are content creators. All of us is trying to wake our people up. And now, as he pointed out, and I played the clip earlier with Kanye West pointing out that he didn't even know that anti-Semitism dealt with, was defined as someone talking about, mentioning conspiracies towards the Jewish community as we know them, and all kinds of stuff. He said he had no clue. He was reading it. So I definitely understand the hesitation. And for me, again, I'm focusing on more so where we are right now with the situation and how it's going to affect all of us. Because we hear and we all gotten word about what's going on with Ron Dalton, Kyrie Irving, and those things. So appreciate it. Don't go nowhere, Jacoba. Got Go Black to Africa in the building. How you doing?
What's good with you, brother?
I'm doing great, Great to have you on. And family, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, go to his channel. He's doing a lot over there in the motherland, doing a lot, making us aware of what's going on over there, while at the same time making sure that we don't we don't sleep on what's happening over here as well. So keeping us balanced with the information. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Give me your Cash App too. We need to know your Cash App. I think because you have it down here at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, you know what? Let me put it up here.
It's scrolling across. I see it down there. I see it. I see it. Yeah. I'd rather send you the Cash App than send and have send it through the super chat, because YouTube's gonna take 30% of that. But I appreciate the work that you're doing too, brother, and all that right there. It's amazing, man, here in Africa, man. You can't send Cash App, man, in some of these countries, where countries you are, you can't even send money. I can receive it from people, but you can't send it from me. It's one of the craziest things when it comes to currency. But anyway, I'm gonna piggyback off our brother who just spoke. And I've really remained a little quiet about Kanye, because I've done about 4 or 5 videos on Kanye, as you well know, and you've also chimed in, and I'm with you too, as far as the bigger scope is not about Kanye, but about the system that is in place and how it can pick and choose who it wants to go ahead and shame or to try to destroy. And yet it will always focus on anyone else but itself. But with Kanye, I'm with the brother here and some other people that Kanye, Candace Owens, and these other people should not be considered part of the family. If you look at what he's claiming, that following the Bible, following God, he is contrary to the camp. He would have been put out of the camp. You see, when there are rules, there are laws, there are instructions for a people. And yet Kanye, what he is lukewarm. He stands on the line. He plays this game to be for the devil on one sense, and then run and screams God on another sense. You can't mix the two. You're either going to be hot or cold, as the Lord says. Kanye likes to play the black card when he's in trouble. He played the white card when he needs more money. Kanye, you know, him and Candace, y'all decided to marry into the societal majorities of America. That's the Caucasian family. I ain't got nothing against it. That's your choice. But don't try to play like you so Pan-African, that you so Jew, that you are so this and that when you cross the lines outside the camp. We got to start calling out these people and stop trying to reel them in when they have made the choice. If slavery was a choice, Kanye, you made a choice. You made a choice to cross over into another camp outside of the children of Israel, or being a Jew, if that's what you want to refer to yourself as such. And there are principles, there are laws, there are things that one must be able to live their life by. We were instructed to not cross the lines when it comes to those who are not following the true living God. We were told not to marry those. We were told not to have our daughters marry their sons and our sons marry their daughters. These are things that are scriptural. And then yet, you know, you want to play the fence. This is my first time speaking against Kanye, but it's not about Kanye. It's about waking people up. Do not blur the lines when it comes to standing on what you say your faith is, yet you're trying to rescue somebody who's contrary to what you say you believe in. Many shall say, Lord, Lord. You could put up a church and sing and say hallelujah all day long. It don't make you a child of God. We know there are the church of Satan, or the children of Satan. Yeshua checked a few of his disciples. Yeshua had a Judas. And so I'm saying is that we got to call these people out. Stop trying. That Candace and Kanye do the same thing. 1 minute they're like, oh yes, you know, being black. And then the next minute will smear it by going and protect the white man. Is the straight white man is the one who's more under attack than any other group in America. What? Then you wear your white lives matter. Then you say these statements, but nobody say nothing. But then we want to go rescue somebody when they get themselves caught up, when rightfully so, he put himself in that situation. You either gonna be over for the Most High, or you want to go ahead and shake and dance for Hollywood. Pick your choice. You cannot be going into hell and want to have it your way, but yet you asking for rescue and play this card game. Oh, God makes no mistakes. Well, you said what you said. If you was following God, you know, it's Kanye is an example of how confused so many people are who claim to want to stand for something, yet want it both ways. He's double-minded, he has a forked tongue, and he's confused. Oh, I mistyped DEFCON. Oh, I didn't know about, anti-Semitic comments. I'm reading this right here. Look, dude, you claim to be a genius. You claim to be this smart guy. You claimed all of this stuff, but then in the next breath, you claim being stupid. Which is it? So that's what I'm saying as far how I see it, is that we want to rescue those who made a choice to cross a line to get in the bed with Satan. And when Satan kicks you out, now you want to scream foul. Now you want to do all these things. And so, we as a people, they're saying, and then I'll end right here. We want to identify with skin color. It ain't about that. It's about who really is trying to follow the Most High, rightfully following the Most High, not these jokers who wants to pimp people into his following. Kanye's all about what he does. And it's convenient when he wants to throw God into something, and yet is not standing on it. So society is attacking his own soon-to-be, I guess, ex-wife, who I think is just evident of how these people are. You can sit here and ridicule your soon-to-be ex-husband, but that's your children's father. You don't have to agree with what he said. But daggone it, if that was my ex-wife who was under attack, look, I don't agree with what she said. Yeah, he had made some statements, but I'm not going to stand here and broadcast his crucifixion when my children has to deal with their father being attacked. But yet she's doing what she's supposed to do. Look who she is. Look at society, what they do. They will always condemn a man of color. Always. So it doesn't surprise me. And Kanye himself is going to have to make a choice. You're either going to stand for God for what's right, or you want to get back into bed with Hollywood. That's your choice. That's it for me, brother.
Hey, I really appreciate it. And again, I totally understand. And there's nothing I can say towards that. To you and Yakoba, your points. Just for me, where I'm at with it is the discussion. You know what I mean? Because had that not happened, we wouldn't be having this discussion about what's the system and everything. So I definitely appreciate it. Hey, tell the people about your channel, even though I think just about everybody know your channel here. So
I just want to say real quick, Go Black. I couldn't have said it any better, man. That was perfect.
Well, appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. The channels Go Black to Africa. It has many meanings, but I think that we need to go back to the Most High. We need to go back to our basic state, or our the base of life where we were created, man, woman, and child, with the Most High being first. You know, and so I am one who is providing one option of those who are sick and tired of the ways of America. And so I'm showing Africa as one place. It doesn't have to be Africa. I've traveled all around, but because America tarnished and made Africa to be this impoverished, undeveloped, supposedly disease-infested tribal wars, that I want to show the contrary, and the beautifulness and the people that are here, that one can also remove themselves out of a Sodom and Gomorrah into a place that they can find probably better and conducive to what their spiritual health could be. So that's what my channel's for. And yes, I do also expose and open up damn Erica is what I call it. You know, put the D in front of America, capitalize the E, damn Erica, which is America, in the wrongfulness and the evilness and the wickedness it does, and how detrimental, and how we have to open our eyes and protect our children from a society that wants to bend them, change them, mold them into be the beast of what they are. So that's it, brother. I appreciate your time.
Hey, appreciate you. Love you, man. And looking forward to your next video.
All right, brother.
All right.
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. And Yakoba, you guys don't go anywhere. Benea, Sister Carol, let me just let a couple of people here that's been waiting here. Let me let them say a couple of things here. I think we have Yetker Malika.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. And then we have Deadly Lioness. And we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, so all perpetual esteem to the Most High. So I just wanted to say that Kanye, none of us are perfect, all right? And we have to understand that our people have made many mistakes all throughout Scripture. And what Kanye is doing is he's bringing an awareness to the biblical truth. Does he have a lot to learn about who we are? Does he have a lot to learn about our history? Yes, he does, 100%. But I don't think that we should throw him under the bus because he's just now coming into these truths. It's a fact that he's part of this industry. He's been a part of this industry. We've seen a lot of satanic symbolism. We know he's married to that witch. But this might be a moment where the Most High is pulling him out of this industry to turn away from the money, to turn away from the powers of Satan that have had influence over his life, and get him to come back to us, come back to the Most High, come back to his people. And the interview he did, he spoke a lot of truth that they don't want out there. And I think that that's enough for us to say, we got to pray for this brother. We should not want to see our people be dragged the way that he's being dragged. And I believe the Most High can definitely use him. We got to pray for him, understand we were all in a point in our lives where we weren't fully in the truth. We were still learning, and we made a lot of mistakes. And that's all I got to say. I just want to keep it brief.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you for jumping on. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, you could just go Yexer Malchiah, just type it on in the search box, and I got, I do music and everything. You can find some music on there.
Okay. Hey, appreciate you jumping on, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. Really appreciate it.
All right, shalom. Thank you, brother.
Hey, Pastor Kelly, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, Benel.
Okay, yeah, I just want to clarify the position. So let's just if everyone could just set Kanye to the side. Right, just set him to the side. Like, just take Kanye out of the question, because for me, I think that there's something more dangerous in this situation that we're witnessing than Kanye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I think this is kind of like, it kind of goes back to what the sister Barack was kind of talking about. It goes into what Brother Yacoba was talking about, and go back to Africa was talking about. Like, totally agree with you all 100% about Kanye. Totally agree with you. I just want to make sure that there's no discrepancy there. The only thing that I want to make sure that we as a community are aware of, the undercurring danger, is what I refer to as the anti-Semitic dog whistle, right? And what I believe what we're witnessing is we're witnessing, like in the IT industry, we have these things called playbooks, right? You come up with a playbook, and this is your blueprint for how you're going to execute something, right? So what I'm saying is that what we're witnessing is the playbook of the anti-Semitic dog whistle. And basically, we've seen this with Kyrie Irving. We've seen this with, they actually tried to do it with Brother Ron Dalton Jr. And of course, they did it with Kanye. And the playbook is this: whenever you say something that they don't agree with, like for instance, in this Great Awakening, we're saying that you can say something like, "Hey, Israelites are black," right? Which is a true statement. I tell people all the time, go and take a look at the Lakesh relief that's sitting in the British Museum. You'll see black folks, for Judah. But if you say something that the community at large doesn't agree with, the Jewish community at large doesn't agree with, playbook step number one, they'll go into your history. They'll start bringing up all these things in the past that that supposedly that you've done, that to your point, Pastor Kelly, you brought this out, that they didn't bring that up until that point they didn't have an issue with, but they have a need to bring it forward to justify what they're getting ready to do to you. That's step number one. And then step number two is they have to justify the anti-Semitic response, and the response is an overwhelming response, right? And they have to and this, in order to justify the overwhelming response. Just for a second here, guys. I'm just trying to bring up my notes here. Right. And so part of this overwhelming response, I mean, think about what with Kanye. He lost all kinds of money, right? They kicked him. If this was like the regular everyday guy, right? They could justify kicking you off the job. They could justify having the mob come against you. They could justify you losing all sorts of money. Like, to me, like that's the danger. That's the blueprint that they're putting together. That when they blow that anti-Semitic dog whistle, boom, these three things can happen to you. Because we as black folks, instead of kind of pushing the person to the side, we let it happen. We let it happen over and over again, to the point where it's going to be an automatic response to you. So I just kind of want to see if we could stop that playbook before it's validated, because right now it's in the process of being validated.
So, Brother Banya, I don't know if you saw my video I did called "Painting the Target." That's exactly the point that I was making. I think the only difference may be is that I think Kanye's part of the plan to do exactly what you were saying.
Oh, I agree.
Which is, yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
And real quick before you guys continue on, Deadly Linus, I'm gonna unmute you so that way you can.
Shalom. I don't know if I have any comments now because he just took the words right out of my mouth. I just wanted to share that I feel like it's a form of programming that they're attempting to do. They started with Nick Cannon, and they're doing it now with Kanye. They thought that we were kind of they say they used him to try to save us, to bring us back to the church. They gave him a choir, they gave him all the antics, and put his marine spirit, that's what I call the Kardashians, those are from the marine kingdom, put them up there as the the wife and kids, and she was getting black people out of jail, and they were trying to put them in a Beyonce Jay-Z format, and they thought that Kanye could actually bring us back to the church. That's what that was about. Now he's done these weird antics where he has this black mask over his face, and just these are all my opinions. I can't fully say I researched anything, but I feel it was a ritual that him and his Marine Kingdom spirit wife was bringing in dark matter, black matter. Okay, I'm a little weird, so just bear with me. So I think they were taking part in a ritual with that. Then he has these concerts with Marilyn Manson, who is a known Satanist. So they didn't achieve anything like that. So they jumped to let's put him in there with the Israelites. And he ignorantly said something about Judah, but I feel the man is a genius. So how could you not know offhand all the research that needs to be had in this particular situation? But I feel it was to throw us off. And the reason why I say these things is not that he's a bad person. I think that Kanye just was not evil enough to stay in that industry and really pull off the things they wanted him to do. So now they're just throwing him out there to get the energy up before they take him out. That's just one point. Another point is that when people say that black people, so-called black people, need to unite, we have to understand it's not about color, it's about bloodline. A lot of these wealthy so-called black people, that they're Canaanites. A lot of them are Danites. Now, I may be ignorant, and I'm saying that I don't even feel comfortable saying that around Ben Yah Israel and Yaakov, because these brothers are cold with it. They know the real stuff. But this is just my opinion. So, don't come for me, but I'm just saying I feel that they won't put them up there if they know they're the true bloodline of the house of David, and I feel that they have to change the narrative. And just one more point I want to make: Kanye and the black men are not the only people that they punish really hard when it comes to speaking about the so-called black Jews, which we're not. You can call me a ruddy red Jew because I'm the same as the King of David, but they punished that team owner who got caught talking on the recorder to the black mixed girl he was dating, and he was like telling her there's two different Jews, there's the black Jews and then there's the Jews in Israel. And when he got caught, they punished him. They took his team, they shamed him. He was punished very severely. And why was he punished very severely? Because us coming up is them going down. I don't understand why these celebrities would give the anti-Semite card. Has been played for years. If you do anything, they're going to use that card and they shut you down. That's been going on for a very long time. It's not about telling them that they're not who they are. That's irrelevant. We're not slaves no more. We don't have to prove anything to anyone. The problem is that these people understand following the law, statutes, and commandments put you in power in this dimension, in this construct that we're in. The Most High's word is a living word. It goes to and fro, just like evil does, so does good. And if you're within the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, there's certain benefits that you reap. They don't keep the Sabbath and keep certain things that they learned when they took over Israel for nothing. They had to learn these things because at the time 70 AD, and I might be wrong, but I just want to just say this. They had the Most High send lions in there to eat them up and bite them up, to where they had to go and get the priest, or, you know, of course, these brothers would know more about that, but they had to get the priest to teach them what to do to stay in the land so the lions wouldn't eat them up. So they have taught their children's children. Now, is Kabbalah real? Yes. Are Zion? Yes. All that is real. Is it high level? I don't even want to say that name because they might try to come for you. So yes, but if we would stop worrying about who's who and follow the law, statutes, and commandments, we would take our power back, and then none of this would matter. And that's the problem. They don't want you to get to that point. They want you to argue and fight about nothing. But if we got in accordance with, now, if you're a Canaanite and you're a Danite and you don't want to repent, you're not going to be able to follow those law, statutes, and commandments. So therefore, we cut off the enemy's head that's within the camp. And with that, I'm going to say shalom. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Appreciate it, sis. Thank you for your inputs. Really appreciate you for jumping on and sharing your thoughts. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. I meant to ask you a question. I had the question on the screen. Was this, there's a Quentin Waller want to know the location of the documents that you were pointing at. Thank you, Quentin, for the contributions tonight. Family, let's show some love to Quentin. Really appreciate it. So, all righty. Well, I'll get back to you guys. Benea, Sister Kyrie, you've been quiet the whole time. Well, almost the whole time. And Yakoba. Any additional things you guys want to share in regards to the Kanye situation? Because for me, again, where I'm at with the whole situation, I made it clear that no, I'm not falling on the sword, but at the same time, kind of like that crazy cousin, that crazy uncle, I'm not going to just let anybody come and do anything, to someone from within the community. I just can't sit back and watch the public lynching, especially hearing him. If you guys get a chance, look at the latest interview that he did earlier today or yesterday. Man, you could just hear it. I mean, he definitely, I believe, he didn't expect things to go the way that it went. He even talked about how, sharing how Adidas did him with his designs and everything. But again, the bigger picture is what I'm really looking at as well. How are they going to use that situation to start coming at our channels? If you say anything that's related to this Jewish community. So, and one last thing for me is probably the reason why I have a little more leniency is because I was in that lifestyle, man. I was out there. I was a Freemason. I did all those things. And, the Most High had mercy on me, and I believe that, yeah, we still have to have, no matter who it is, you want to still have have your eyes on the person. But at the, not going into a thing blind. But I just really believe that, with everything, that we can still source certain things out internally. I just believe that he didn't expect to get the backlash that he's gotten from the communities that shut him down, that have tossed him out. But again, I encourage you guys, if you hear his latest interview, I'm gonna upload it after we conclude here. I'll upload and let you guys hear it, and then maybe we could discuss it in a couple of days. But any additional thoughts you guys have before we wrap up?
So I have some final thoughts. Remember when Trump was running for office and the right-wing evangelicals were lauding him as this messianic type figure, and he was saying all the right things that they wanted, right? But he's the one that promoted some of the medicine, right? And so they give you this character that you're going to follow, right? But when it all comes to head, they're going to pull the rug out from under you. And that's what my concern is. And I think for the people who follow us, right, we have to sort of be protective of them and say, look, okay, I know you support Kanye, but, just be cautious, right? Because for me, I haven't seen the fruit of repentance, right? Not just for me. Maybe he did, but I haven't seen the fruit. And so because I haven't seen the fruit, I can't support him, even though he say things I like. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at you were kind of at, I kind of look at how they responded to Ron. Remember Ron Dalton when he well, actually, so Kyrie Irving, he made the post, and then you have the Rolling Stones and CNBC, ESPN, all these different mainstream outlets go after Ron, and to your point or to your question, Pastor Kelly, you're asking like, how are they going to use this right to come after us? Well, that's it. Just look at how they came after Ron. I mean, they tried to paint him as a some sort of extremist. That's one of the typical things that they try to do is they try to lump all the all of our groups, all the groups into one. But not only do they try to lump us all into one, but they try to lump us into this one group and then paint the whole group as extremists, right? And so that's what they tried to do with Ron. And of course, I think Ron dropped a video and he spoke about how they're trying to cancel him, right? They're trying to go into use Amazon as a means to punish him. Like I said, that's that overwhelming response that they're programming us to get used to, or they're trying to program us to get used to. And that's why I'm open to push back against that, because if they did it for Ron, I'm telling you, fam, if they did it against Ron, they're gonna do it against you. So don't be sitting back and thinking, oh, I don't have a book, I don't have a movie. It doesn't matter. It's just that if you say anything that goes against what they're trying to push, they're going to come after you with the same blueprint.
I totally agree, and we're seeing that right now. I mean, I believe, like Eddie Murphy said it best: give her brother an inch, you want to take a mile. Give her brother a rope, you want to be a cowboy. And I just think that we can't continue to give up ground or concede any space to what's going on. I mean, and I think that to your point, as you made, the point that you made, Benaya, is it's not going to stop there. I mean, I've had videos, literally, I've posted them of some of the things that YouTube has done. One of the videos, the one that the Boondocks video, Yacoba introduced me to the Boondocks, but YouTube tried to say that that little clip I did had nudity in it and denied me twice on it. Right? I got the emails and everything.
Yeah, they don't care about the truth. They're gonna hit you anyway. There's no nudity in that.
Yeah, they said it was nudity and all up in it, pornographic images and everything. And like, wait a minute, it's a kid at a spelling bee, a national spelling bee. Of course, I put the Boondock remix over it, but yeah, you know what I mean. I'm tempted to play it, but you know what I mean. Just the way that they're censoring everything.
Don't do it, Pastor Kelly.
Yeah, before you know it, you guys have to put some Chico sticks on my in my commissary for being locked down again. But yeah, I totally agree, and that's where I'm at. It's kind of like just drawing a line of like, hey, we got to stand in line. We got to hold the line and keep it from bleeding over into other areas, because Jacoby, you, Benaya, you guys got some large platforms, and that if you're not, you may be under the radar right now or close to it because of the size of the platforms.
Say, Pastor Kelly, do you remember when I said I might not be around too much longer? I don't know if you heard that show. I sense it in the spirit, man. We all coming down. I'm not speaking anything, but I mean, this is serious warfare going on.
Yeah. Sister Carol, you kind of quiet over there. Did you fall asleep?
Almost did, but I'm here.
You got the sleep voice too.
No, I'm just sitting here listening to all the convo that's going on. Interesting convos, matter of fact. I'm going to say this, and I really don't, how I operate. I'm going to say what I'm saying. Hit your toe, hit your neck, hit your eye. That's on you, but I'm going to say it. I'd rather talk to somebody like Kanye than the people who are woke up, who's awakened in this community, who have to fight every day behind foolishness that they say every day. I can reach somebody with Kanye to teach, if he's out there in the world, to bring him over to where he needs to be, than to somebody who's called himself awake, walking in this truth. Now, what has happened is that the Most High is using him as a portal for us to walk through to bake up against this wall. I personally have been against that wall. They came after me back in 2016. They came to my job. They set me down in human resources and had a big discussion with me. But when I went to the scripture on them and showed them my bloodline, showed them definition of what a Semite is, they couldn't say anything to me. They had to back off of me. Only thing they told me to do was don't say anything about Ashkenazi Jews on Twitter, because I got into a situation with Roseanne Barr. So I know how they operate. I've been around them, been in their world. But the only way that we're going to fight against them is you got to stand up against them. You can't sit here and say, oh, my channel will be taken down, or this is going to happen to me. Either you're going to let it happen and keep walking in it, or you're going to quietly and go sit down somewhere and be quiet. But again, I'd rather talk to somebody who's out in the world to bring them to this truth than deal with my own people who walk in this truth, who constantly fuss and fight and just say all kind of crazy, salacious stuff. There's no love among us. It's all about who's right. I want to be right. That's not what the Most High wants us to do. He wants to bring love and brotherly love among us, and I don't see it. All I see is debates. Debating about what? Who's right? No. No, that's not going to get you in the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Well, appreciate it, sis. Well, what we're going to do here, because you guys see my eyes, I'm past my threshold by an hour and a half. I have a 2-hour threshold. I'm surprised that I held up this long. So I'm just going to open up the floor, go around the room. Since you was just speaking, Sister Carol, we'll start with you. If you guys got any one that you want me to throw inside the garbage can, because family, there's a lot that we could throw inside the garbage can. And I'll start with you, Sister Carol.
The anti-Semitic, because anti-Semitic means anti-Negro. Put that whole word in the trash can.
Anything else, or that's it, Sister Carol?
That's it. That's all I need. Negro, anti-Negro. That's what's going on.
Okay. All right. Yacoba in the building.
I don't have anything today, Pastor Kelly.
Oh, come on, Yacoba. You know you got something to throw up in that garbage can. You know I ain't gonna let you off that easy.
All right. How about throw deception in there?
Anyway, I'll let you go on that one. At least you gave me something. Benaya.
Yeah, Sister Carol, she's said the same thing I was going to say. So I'll say it again. Anti-Semitic, that anti-Semitic dog whistle that they're trying to program us to get used to.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll give the garbage can here. I think we all saying the same thing, because I was going to say the whole propaganda machine, because it is a beast, aka right, Revelation, right, makes me think about even what we're dealing with about the two witnesses, right? Said the witnesses was going to speak power, do all kinds of things, but then in the end, what's going to happen with them in the streets of Egypt, right? So, and I believe that we kind of see some of these things play out. We're waking up a lot of people, but there's going to be a lot of us that's going to be martyrs because of it. So I want to throw that whole propaganda machine inside the garbage can. I want to give them a 3-piece. Give them their order to go. Oh, I hope they don't take that and say, hey, you know what? Anyway, you know, I can take that all out of context.
You'll find out in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. So, guys, if the video's down and you don't see me live for another 2 weeks,
you know
then they got me again.
Who we gonna blame? We'll blame it on Jacoba. That's who we're blaming.
That's all right. I'm used to taking hits from my people.
Well, with that being said, family, in the words of Moses in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, as he had to encourage the children of Israel as they came out of Egypt, but they was at a major, or what seemed to be a dead end. He had to say to them, because they were ready to go back to Egypt. He said to them, "Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will not have power over you ever again. They will not have. They will not be a stumbling block. They will not be a stronghold. They will not have us under any siege ever again. The Most High will fight for each and every one of us. He will fight for his people. But the kicker is, family, we have to hold our peace. In other words, the Hebrew word that's there is charash, which means be quiet. Guess what, family? Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.